YouTube, it's Matt My X, Magik Omnibus, X-Men Omnibus. Like, is this the StreamYard that you have all the like the description info in?
Yeah, so if you go to the top and you go to view on YouTube, that's where it takes you. It takes you to...
So I can't see that because I'm a guest, but I believe you.
Oh, you believe me? Okay. Yeah, we're live. We're live right now. We're here. We're here. How's everybody doing? I assume everybody's here. I can't see the chat because something's up with StreamYard, but we are here. I am the Uncanny Omar, and welcome to this edition of Matt My X. And I am back with my regulars. How are my regulars doing? What's up? How's everybody doing? How was New Year's? I see Peter all the time, so I know how Peter's doing. What about you all? Oddfell, Riley, who wants to go first?
I can go first. Doing good. It's been busy, but it's really exciting to be back, especially talking about a character I love so much. So I'm very excited.
Okay, been busy. What have you been doing?
I had a slew of cons and then just the holiday season with family. So now I'm prepping for the new con season that'll start with C2E2 and go from there.
Oh yeah, that's right. C2E2. Awesome. What about you, Riley? What's new with you, buddy?
You know, just making it through. It's been a real busy few months. Back home, you know, with friends, family, and just everything. So haven't been I just this last Friday kind of finally put up a new video on my channel after a couple months of silence. So trying to make 2025 a good solid year to continue making content, continue reading books, continue doing what we do, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to have you all here. And last but not least, Peter, what are you doing?
I'm all up in your YouTubes this week is what I'm doing. I've been having so much fun reading a ton of comics, reading a ton of magic. I've missed my friends here so much, so I'm really happy to be here to argue, as good friends do. And yeah, this week you just can't get rid of me. I started live streaming on my own channel again for the first time in 3.5 years, and I named the channel Crushing Crisis 2, so it's very easy to find. You find me on crushingcrisis.com. You find me on Crushing Crisis on YouTube. Very simple. So I'm ready. I'm ready to not talk by myself for 2.5 hours. I think I imagine other personalities there, but this time there's other people on the screen.
Okay, so let's talk. Today we are going to be talking about Illyana Rasputin, Darkchylde, Magik, Little Snowflake, whatever you want to call her. We're going to map her omnibus because she seems to be a very popular character amongst the youth. Right? And why is that, Oddfell?
I don't know, but I love to see it because I got into comics around 2014, and at that time she was starting to catch steam, but still wasn't huge. But I feel like since then on, I've just seen her in more and more and more and more, and now she's kind of everywhere, and I love it.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, apparently there's this little game called Marvel Rivals, and it brought attention to this character across first, I guess, TikTok and now everywhere, and people want to know and are craving this character. And she has an interesting history, which is why it's going to be so difficult to talk about how to map. If we were given the chance, if Marvel gave us the chance to map an omnibus and we just get one and it's Magik, how do we map it? Because I think we're coming at this from different angles. At least Peter and I are, because he's crazy. Riley, I think we'll probably have 2 or 3 Omnis like he did with Wolverine, and I was like, you're crazy. But we'll see what Riley brings to the table.
I asked before we started.
I said one fatty.
No, you said one fatty today. Last week, I was like, are we doing 1 or 2? And you were like, whatever you want to do. It can be multiple. And I was like, cool. With that.
Yeah. Do you see how Omar sows dissent before we even get on?
He's like, wait, they're the dumb ones, not me.
I would never call my friends dumb to their faces.
You would just say it's easy to take advantage of us.
I would never say that either. Manipulating, yes. That's different.
Totally different.
Gaslighting everyone.
So we approach this really seriously. I am drinking water, not wine or beer, because I normally do this on the spot, but I put some thought into this one. because I'm curious what everybody else is going to say. So, Peter, let me know when we can start sharing the slideshow, and I'll go ahead and. By the way, I can't click on anybody's comment to highlight. I am so sorry. StreamYard was busted, but I can see the comments come through. So, thank you all so much. Is anyone a fan of the anime Macross? Oh my God, yes. But I knew it as Robotech, so don't kill me, because I know there's this whole fan base that's Macross or die. But growing up in Latin America, it was Robotech, and then I learned about Macross. And Macross, oh my gosh, Macross Plus and Macross 7 are amongst my favorites. Riley, have you watched any Macross?
You know, sometime late last year, I bought the Robotech box set, not Macross. So I will at some point, hopefully this year, watch the original, or not the original, watch the
Super Dimensional Fortress Macross. Yeah, it's different. It's got both of them have a killer soundtrack. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Lin Min-Mei, man, she kills it in both of them. And I know that Do You Remember Love, the movie, is coming out on Blu-ray, but it's like it's region free, so you can watch it here in America too. So I'm excited about that one because that movie is awesome. We called it Clash of the Bionoids in America. All right, so here we are. Dom is offering to jump in and try to fix it like he did earlier. I don't think there's any fixing it. The stream already started, because if I end the stream, that's it. I can't click on comments unless you can jump in here and click on comments. It's a no-go. Let me see if Dom can do it, and then we can go ahead and get started. Do you see comments, Dom? I'm gonna add him to the stream really quick.
Hey, special guest.
Hello.
I can't unmute Dom because he's chose to mute himself. Maybe he did not want to be seen. Do you see?
Oh, yes!
Hey!
Dom is the master.
Dude, how did you do that? That's awesome. Thank you, Dom. How did you do that?
Have a fun stream, guys. Glad I could help.
Thanks, man. That was really cool. Shit, that was cool in the gang. How do you do that? I was in IT for 20 years, and I was like, oh, screw it. We're just going to let it fly. Okay, now I can see the comments. Dom is literally the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
That guy needs a raise.
He's always advocating for that. Before we get into the map.
Yes, boss.
In the comments already are saying, like, well, I don't really know Magik. I don't really know who she is. I think it's really interesting because there's, like, 3 distinct groups. There's the people who've been reading X-Men forever and, like, totally are insiders. Mm-hmm. There's the people who've maybe only been reading X-Men maybe as long as Oathfell, but never went back for old Magik. So they just know her as the Magic School Bus with the sword, and they don't really get the whole origins of her. And then there's people who are really just like seeing her in art and playing her in Marvel Rivals, who are just like, she's a mutant, but she's magical. And it's really interesting because they are very distinct periods of Magik. So who is this character that we're talking about?
Yeah, let's find out who we're talking about, because we're all coming at this from different angles. I can already tell by Peter's tone. He saw my map and did not like it.
I did not like it.
I went into my, you can go to hell. I went into my map with the idea of like a Doctor Doom type of omnibus. A little bit of old, a little bit of highlights, some stuff that are like new, giving you, you know, the big parts of the story without giving you an entire run of New Mutants. Yeah. Which is so tempting to do. So I wanted to hit like some highlights with my mapping. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's cool, Peter.
Yeah, and then why don't we talk a little bit about Magik while you're sharing your screen? So for those of you who aren't super in the know, the first thing to know is that Magik is Colossus's little sister, right? You might not know that. And she was introduced as a child. You actually can glimpse her in Giant Size X-Men #1 in 1975, but that was just as a little kid sister with no plot intent around her appearing. And then before Uncanny X-Men 150, she winds up coming to live with the X-Men. And then after the X-Men battle with Magneto and X-Men 150, all the X-Men move onto this isle in the lost Bermuda Triangle that Magneto had been inhabiting, and Illyana moves there with her. or with all of them. And that's what becomes really fateful for Illyana, because that's where her story kind of really begins. She winds up unintentionally being sucked into limbo, being aged up. She winds up having mutant powers, but because she got pulled into limbo, they are also magical powers. And so then we have an adult Illyana for, I don't know, guys, like about 5 years. And then she's de-aged at the end of limbo. Or at the end of Inferno. Gosh, it's early for me, and I've been doing is reading Magic comics. All of the words are interchangeable.
I was just about to warn people, if you have not read anything about Illyana, just in case, some of the high points, at least for my omnibus, are going to be spoilers. So, just in case you're like reading X-Men and you're reading it from like volume 1 and you haven't gotten to even her getting aged up, there will be talk of spoilers, because that is the only way to do these kind of shows, unfortunately. So,
well, I think even if we just hit the big beats, because then she's a kid again. So we had kid magic, then we had teenager magic, then we had kid magic again, then kid magic goes away. I won't spoil why, although I'm sure we'll get into it later. And she goes away for like a solid 15 years. Then we get teenager magic back again. So there's several distinct periods of magic, and then teenager magic is very, very involved in Avengers versus X-Men. And then after Avengers versus X-Men, I would say she's into the modern status quo, where she's in that black costume, she has the big thick sword, and she is kind of the teleporter that is very attached to the hip to Cyclops and his team. So those are the kind of big chunks of magic, and I guess let's dive in and see what chunks people decided to include in their maps.
Yeah. The premise of the show is a spoiler warning. We know what we're signing up. Well, thank you. I just wanted to make sure, in case somebody's like, I just started playing Marvel Rivals and I don't know what an omnibus is. I don't know if that's bait or not, James. I play it safe. I'm comfortable with how Peter said thick sword. I like
the C's are implied. The double C was definitely implied.
It's a big ass sword is what it is. I love it. All right. So let's.
Oh wait, but Riley, I'll private chat you something, Riley. Secrets.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the first slide.
Yeah.
Which is it's me. Wow, what a way to start it. Look, I chose my standard edition cover and my direct market cover. We all chose our covers too. And what I want to do is actually let the chat vote for those covers to see which ones they prefer. But this is my mapping. I went with the idea of I want something old, I want something new, I want some of the big hits. And let me tell you, it was hard not to put a lot more New Mutants in there, because a lot of her, like, using her magic and then slowly becoming this dark type of character, this demon child type of character, happens in those New Mutants issues, like after issue 50. I wanted to include all of 50 to 73. Then I'm like, no, that's in New Mutants. And honestly, I could probably trim some of that fat off. So at the end of the day, what we're going to do is we're going to curate a perfect Magic Omnibus where you find people. By the way, that is in Hugh Lee and Arthur Adams as my covers. So I have some hits in here that I think, at least I think are big. I wanted to highlight her new costume because that seems to be the popular choice these days. I think it was Chris Bachalo, right, that designed that costume, if I'm not mistaken. Oddfell, you would know. You cosplayed the character.
It is, yes. That one is from the Bendis run specifically, and it's carried on for pretty much unbroken. I think she had a different one for Extraordinary, but then went right back to this. Yeah.
And then, of course, I went with the classic costume because that was the costume that I grew up with reading, and including her soul sword and armor. I almost included things like the Soul Sword trilogy, like from Excalibur in here, but Peter knows there's one thing I snuck in here that I'm like, oh, this is never going to get collected. They done forgot about it in the X office. And that is the, where is it? It is in 2000 or no, maybe it was late 90s. It is the X-Men Magic series 1 through 4. That has never been collected in anything. There's no trade paperbacks of it. There's no hardcovers. It's also not Illyana. It's Amanda Sefton. But
so you're saying it's not essential.
Shut up. It is so essential. Did you not hear it's never been collected? This has never been collected. You need it.
Yeah,
it's a sequel to X-Men Black Sun. It's like a follow-up to that.
From a like marketing standpoint, if they want to go with the never before collected, then they just put it in its own paperback and then make extra money off of it and tell you it's magic when it's not actually the magic that you want.
It's on the title, guys.
Yeah, but it's not the one that you want.
I'm gonna ignore that comment because some of us happen to like Amanda Sefton in that cool ass costume that was written by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning, by the way, long before they did Guardians of the Galaxy.
You're selling it as its own.
So good right now.
You're doing such a
never collected because nobody wants it. Ouch. Ouch.
You're selling it as its own little paperback so well.
No, what are you? DC Comics? No, we're doing it in an omnibus style. That's it. Amanda's thank you, Nick. Right? Amanda as Magic was it was the idea. She was gone. We're gonna talk about some of these things in here. Why? Temu version of you go to hell, Matt. But this is my mapping, and then I can come back to it. Should we go ahead and do the next one, Peter? Is the next one ready?
I'm so mad I forgot about Mystic Arcana. Like, I'm looking at this list and I'm like, how could I have forgotten about Mystic Arcana?
You're looking at this list and you're wondering, how is this so perfect? We don't even need to look at my list. Is that what you're saying?
How many
Not
issues?
quite, but you know.
I know you said this is a fat one, but like, how many freaking issues is this, dude?
Less than Agent Van Omnibus.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, less than Agent Van Omnibus. Like, just glancing at it. Yeah. Peter, can I go to the next slide?
Why don't you let me shuffle the slides a little bit and then reload, because I'm having some challenges with the next one at the moment.
Sure. Okay.
All right, go ahead and reload, and then you can go to the next slide.
Okay. Let me remove this really quick and reload. Who's up next? Let me see.
Oddfell will be up next.
You ready to talk, Oddfell?
I can do that.
Ooh, I like your cover choice, though, for that standard. All right. Here we go. All right. Take us away.
Okay, so these are some of my favorite Magic art covers of all time, so I had to use them. I like covers when they have kind of plain backgrounds like that, and I could just see it with like the word Magic behind it, and it would look so clean. But as far as mine, like, I was really worried about getting too much of a page count. So mine's kind of light, but the things I think are the most important that I definitely want to see in there. So I think opening it with just essentially her cameo in Giant Size X-Men to say her first appearance is in there is really all you need from Giant Size. Mm-hmm. And then I don't think she's really that important until the Belasco arc. So I kind of skip around until issue 160 and then really start kicking off with all of her becoming Magic, because I don't think anyone who wants to pick up this book really wants to see that much of child Illyana. They're probably here to see Magic storylines, so I tried to keep that as minimal. And then I wanted to also focus on issues that were important involving like her first team up with Doctor Strange, or the team finding out that she has magic, or like there's an issue where she just randomly becomes evil in X-Men Annual 9 that I think is important. And I wanted to include the What If and the Doctor Strange The End at the end, because I think they're going to start leaning into Sorcerer Supreme magic a lot more, and I don't see those getting collected anywhere else.
So you added the entirety of that's Zeb Wells' run, right? Of New Mutants.
I think it could be cut down, but it's been a hot minute since I've read it, so I didn't feel comfortable knowing exactly where that arc could be kind of macheted. But it deals so heavily with her that I think a majority of the issues would probably end up in there, because that's the Pixie Bloodstone arc.
Yeah, so I went with the first four, because I thought those were really magic centric. But you're right. The hard part was trying to decide exactly how much of a series needs to be in a book, right? So I went with the Doctor Doom approach, and a little bit of that. What was the other book? The Loki, but they made it into two separate omnis. I love your edition of What If Magic #1, and I went with X-Men Annual 8 because it's the follow-up, at least in my heart, to Uncanny X-Men 153.
Mm.
Now Illyana telling this like a fairy tale story. But you went with annual number 9, which is part of the Asgardian story, right? That's where Storm is holding the
And
Mjolnir.
it's the first technical appearance of Darkchylde. They don't call her Darkchylde, they just call her like evil magic. But it's really like the first time we see like unbridled demon.
Oh, I like this. I like this. I think this is so hard because adding things like 166 and 167 were very crucial to me because I was like, well, that's the first time she has the soul sword, so I have to have that in there. But I love your addition of definitely what if magic. Doctor Strange Last Days of Magic. I added some of that in there too. That's the Jason Aaron run, right?
Yes.
Okay.
She's in and out, but I feel like issue 1 is definitely what you need, and it ties directly to Extraordinary for better or worse.
Okay.
And I think her short arc in the beginning of Extraordinary is also nice to see for framing like why she would go on to do things like Strange Academy.
Yeah, I didn't add any Strange Academy. I came really close.
I don't think she was in it enough because I was like on the fence and I was like,
yeah, I love showing the progression of a character to see how much growth there is, and she is a very complex character, as Peter was saying. So let's see here. Thank you, Noah. I just got home from work and excited to watch this. I'm really happy to see some magic mapping. I've been wanting to do a read-through of her background with my wife. Thanks for laying it out. Oh, absolutely. Hopefully, once it's all said and done, they'll end up choosing my mapping over everybody else's, which is the correct way to read magic. What in the world is a woodpecker sound? What? Oh, I hear it too. Hold on a second. Let me see what it is. I
muted mine. It wasn't me.
Nope, not me.
Is it
Peter?
me?
Might be some feedback from. Let me see.
It's sadly it's Odell.
Is it? Okay, let me see. Because I am streaming from a laptop that I don't normally. So let me see. Where's my audio settings here?
Get some good ears. I wasn't even paying attention. There's a Illyana versus Sim in Limbo pages in New Mutants 52 worth having. Yeah. So I'm sorry to go back to my big mapping. It was difficult not to put all of New Mutants. Like I think 59 through 61 shows an evil side of Illyana, which is kind of where this is going right here. 65 through 66, which is the aftermath of Fall of the Mutants. What she decides to try to do to Forge. You know they're gonna vote for Phoenix Omnibus higher than your mapping. Shut up, Bill. Don't remind them.
Is that better?
Yeah, there's no woodpecker sound.
Cool. I think it was trying to do a microphone through my webcam and not my laptop. So.
Oh yeah, that happens to me. And I so if you go to the settings on StreamYard, you can choose like the little cog at the bottom. You can choose because that sometimes happens to me too. Now, what happens in Extraordinary X-Men 15 and 16 that made you want to add it into this mapping?
Let me go down real quick. So Extraordinary X-Men. So issue 1 is where she moves the entire school to Limbo, and they touch on. I'm gonna forget her name, so I'm gonna look at my notes real quick. She gets an apprentice called Sapna. And it's her first time teaching, and she takes this like student under her wing, and in 15 and 16 this student corrupts into a massive demon essentially, and she has to take her down, and it's kind of a mirror of her own story but also puts her in the teacher role for the first time. So I think it was kind of a nice capstone if I had to cut it somewhere, because there's no way if I continued to like 2025 necessarily everything from the Krakoa era would fit in here. So I was like, if I had to cut an omnibus, that's kind of a nice capstone to be like, okay, now you can go off and read like Krakoa or Strange Academy, and you have like this nice end point sans the AU books I included.
Okay. And Doctor Strange, the end. Remind me what happens there.
So that one, and I could be over speaking. It's been a while since I read it, but I'm pretty sure the writer confirmed it is in the universe of What If Magic. And essentially, it's like the end of the universe, and Strange is trying to fix things and has to essentially find Magik. And it's implied it's the same universe where she is Sorcerer Supreme, and it's an adventure between her and Wong. It's been a handful of years since I read it, but it is a direct tie to either the concepts of what if Magik or directly in that universe.
What have we determined so far? So far, Peter has agreed that my mapping is superior to his, so he's not even going to show his mapping. He might show some of his covers, though. So can we get this in 2025? Right? Summer, it's magic. It's magic. Was reading X-Men at work and popped over to see this stream. Yes, welcome to the party. Peter, let me know when I can go to the next one, and then we can start.
Go ahead and hit reload one more time, and the next 2 slides should be fine.
Oddfell, those are some great choices, by the way. I like your mapping. I like that you're condensing it. I think it's a lot of New Mutants Volume 2 though, or 3. So maybe we can condense some of those. Okay, now we got Riley welcoming to the party here. All right, Riley, take us away. What do you got here?
So I have 2 volumes. And going with what Peter was saying, and in kind of the intro of the video, like there are different like stages of Magik, and I did kind of a very streamlined take on young Magik, and then basically the stories when Magik returns from life or from death into life. She comes back to life after having been gone for a while, and I did that all the way through like AVX, though I didn't put like a bunch of the Uncanny X-Men or Avengers versus X-Men leading into that in here, because it's a very streamlined take on what these would be. So anyway, volume 1, and I chose very simply the last issue of her first miniseries, because I think that's such a classic cover. So I just have a few issues of Uncanny X-Men. We start off just with issue 160, which is the one that leads right into the miniseries. And then a few issues thereafter that were just important for her. But then we focus a lot on New Mutants. And like has been said a couple times before, it would be very easy to just shove a ton of New Mutants material in here. But then at that point, like we already have a New Mutants Omnibus that has the Magik miniseries and issue 160 of X-Men and other stuff. So I didn't want to just do that. So I chose some important issues for her. Issue 14 is when she like joins the team basically. And then a couple highlight issues. We get the Inferno material and all that. And this basically goes through the end of her major arc in 63 to 73 is Louise Simonson's like Illyana saga. Now it's been a very, very long time since I've read this, so I cannot speak on any specifics. So I'm going on vibes and internet notes for this, for the most part. But then I end that first volume with New Mutants: Truth or Death, which takes place after her death, which happened in the pages of those later issues of Uncanny X-Men.
That is right. Mm-hmm. That's a time travel story.
And then the alternate cover I have here is another classic, and I know that usually we have one classic and one modern, but I wanted to throw in the New Mutants issue 50 cover because I think it's kind of very emblematic of a lot of what we have going on in this book. And then moving over to volume 2, starting off with the Quest for Magik from New X-Men volume 2. That story arc takes place from issues 37 to 41, directly leads into X and Furnace, the 4-issue miniseries, and I've chosen that first cover as the main cover for this one. And then once she is back from Limbo, she takes place at the center of New Mutants. The issues that I skipped out here are like tie-ins to various crossovers, so it was kind of easy to just eliminate those. We have 1 through 5, issue 9, 15 through 21, and then those last 2, 25 and 28, kind of wrap up her story in that series.
Spoilers for my map, I picked that exact set of issues for mine.
Hell yeah.
You guys really went hard with this New Mutants Volume 3, didn't you?
It was very Magic centric, and I think also because it was like the series that had her back after such a long time that she was away, that it was kind of reestablishing her character, and it was also a lot of what established her character going forward. So like what we have from her for a little while after is largely based on where Zeb Wells kind of went with her in that New Mutant series. So I think it was really important to highlight that material. Hellbound was the tie-in, I believe, for Second Coming that she was central towards. A few issues of Uncanny X-Men during Kieran Gillen's run before he relaunched it. And then I threw in just the issues of AVX Consequences, the aftermath for that event, simply because that leads directly into Bendis Uncanny X-Men, where she becomes a central member of Cyclops' team. But I skipped past the whole like 1 through 20 Uncanny X-Men Volume 2, I believe it was, that Gillen did, because I couldn't pick anything that felt like she was absolutely central in those issues. So I kind of jumped from, I think Fear itself is 540 to 543 all the way to AVX Consequences. Just kind of leave it open so that people can go into those other stories. And I didn't go any further because everything after that had featured Magik, I kept feeling as if those stories would feel incomplete if I was just plucking issues. So I was like, Bendis X-Men material, that would feel better if it was all together, et cetera, et cetera. And then I picked the variant cover here is the variant issue for number 1 of that Zeb Wells by Ryan Benjamin.
The one on the bottom?
Yeah, that little one right there.
Yeah. The Magic Limited series, that one has been recolored as a new like they used it for a new cover, like a variant cover.
Yeah.
So you could technically use that as your, modern.
But honestly, and I mentioned this when we were chatting beforehand, I would put for a variant cover of one of these, I would use promo artwork from Marvel Rivals. Because if I'm trying to market towards new readers that are turned on to the character by that game, then using an image from that, the art from that game would be the best way to go.
Man, those kids are going to be so disappointed when that costume doesn't show up in any of these books.
Yeah, which is why I didn't submit that to Peter. I didn't submit the artwork, any of that artwork to Peter for this.
I see.
But if we're covering the material where she is wearing that, like Bendis and Beyond, then I would say for sure I would put that as a cover.
I like that. I've always been partial to that David Finch cover from X Infernus.
Oh God, it's so nice.
That's when that's when they were trying to bring her back, and it was right after that new X-Men arc. Yeah, it was good. It was good to see her back. She'd been gone for such a long time. Any other thoughts or words, Riley, about your mapping?
It's very streamlined. I didn't have a ton of time to do the research and rereading anything, so I was basically just pulling off the top of my head and scanning through stuff. These are the ones that I think would be the most essential, and I'm prepared to have everyone just pull everything in, or tell me that I need more material in here, and I'm just here to argue with y'all, honestly.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. All right, Peter, are you ready for yours?
I'm ready. Everything is prepared.
Oddfell, Riley, y'all ready to disagree with
I feel like I might agree with Peter, just off of vibes.
Off vibes. Wow. Okay, let's see what Peter's got. Jesus Christ.
So, look, I took the approach to this that I was making a guide. And in fact, the next guide released on Crushing Crisis will be a guide to Magic. I didn't quite have enough time to get it done for the show, unfortunately. But I took that approach and I reread everything. Now, I've read every single issue that we're talking about, but I really wanted to go in because sometimes she's on the cover of an issue and then she's hardly in it. And sometimes she's not on the cover and like the issue doesn't seem like it's about her, but then it has two really key pages, like Ophel said earlier, where she like draws the soul sword for the first time. And you don't want to miss that and not have that in the omnibus. But here's why I put it into 2 columns, and I'll go through all the major choices other people haven't covered. I really could see this as 2 books. Together, I did the page counting, and it comes out at the like maximum number of issues that we've ever had in a Marvel omnibus. So I don't know if this makes sense as 1 book, and there's certainly some stuff I'm willing to give up. So it could go the Riley route and be 2 halves, and they'd still be pretty thickies, even as individual halves, or it could be 1 1,600-page omnibus. Either way. So let me go through some of the things here. There's 1 page of Giant Size. We're on column number 1 here, folks. There's 1 page from Giant Size X-Men where she gets introduced. There's 1 page from Uncanny X-Men 148 where we see that she's kind of being adopted by the team and she moves in with them. There's 1 page of Uncanny X-Men 154 where we see them moving into the Fated Island. It's the only page she appears in on that issue. Then we have all of Uncanny X-Men 160, which is, of course, incredibly critical, as everyone has mentioned. Then I have 2 pages of Uncanny X-Men 64. This is 164. This is interesting. The X-Men are in the Brood arc at this point. Illyana's dining with Professor Xavier. Yeah. They think all their friends might be dead. And he's like, well, what's up with you, Illyana? And she basically says, oh, I might have some powers now, and gives us a little smirk. So it's a hint that she kind of is still processing what's happening. We could drop it, but it's only a 2-page spread. So I thought it'd be kind of cool because it kind of tickles. Then additionally, we just see her for 1 page in New Mutants number 1, which I don't think is super important, but it's still while the X-Men are gone, and she's actually with Illyana looking into Legion, and that's the reason I put it, or with Maureen McTaggart looking into Legion, and that's why I put it in here, because if we're going to have all the Legion stuff later, it kind of pays to show that she was there at the very genesis of that. And then something that did any of you have this? Did Omar have it? I don't think anybody has this. But there's X-Men Special Edition 1983, which was like this weird little promo comic. Yeah. And the second story in it is a Kitty and Illyana story that they explore the whole X-Mansion together. And it's very like toyetic, like let's explore all the rooms. Let's show the danger room. Let's show where the jet is. But it's one of the first stories to ever like actually focus on Magik as one of the main characters in the narrative. And it's only a half-issue story. So I thought it'd be worth reprinting here. Then we get into stuff that everybody talked about. I do not think you need all of 167 and 168. I will fight over that. She's barely in 167.
Whoa! Why are you yelling at me?
Because I don't know. Why do you think that I'm yelling at you? You sound guilty.
Because you like to yell at me? Okay.
And she's barely in 168. Basically, Kitty and Illyana are like, we're buds. Right after the scene with Professor Xavier's a jerk.
I think
you don't need that.
153 in here.
Why would I have 153?
That's the fairy tale issue.
Illyana has no role in that.
She's the one that she's telling the story to.
Okay, while she's asleep. As we continue.
Oh my God.
Clearly we'll have Magik number 1 through 4. Everybody's had that. Clearly we'll have New Mutants 14, which is like when she joins that title. I think everybody has had that. There are 4 pages in 171, one of my favorite issues that Omar made me kick out of our special X-Men book 2 weeks ago, because in this sequence, Illyana says, oh my gosh, I remember everything that happened in Limbo, and she pulls out the soul sword and wields it at Kitty. So that's like a really, really important development. Then I have a lot more New Mutants than some of the rest of you do, but I swear I went through and I only picked issues.
That's too much, Peter.
It might be, and some of it can get cut, but I think you do need Demon Bear in 18 through 20 because it tells you like who she is in relation to the team, and it shows her forming relationships with them, which are important for the whole rest of these books. And 21, of course, which is the sleepover issue, which has an amazing cover and which also is like a lot of Illyana. Then she does participate in 188, breaking the X-Men free of a demon fight, but I could easily cut that. Then all of those other New Mutants issues are basically all of the issues where she has a big storyline before Secret Wars. I noticed Riley has a few more issues here. I would argue they're not really essential. I would even be willing to cut some of these. 24-25 is a 2-parter with Cloak and Dagger. Not really essential, but she does use the Soul Sword a lot. 29 through 31 is basically just her on a caper with Sam and Lila. Could be cut, but she takes them through Limbo in issue 30, which is the first time she fully goes to Limbo.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think I put those on my map for that reason.
So you at least need 30. Yeah. 32 through 34, I'm totally willing to cut those. The team is searching for karma. Illyana does a lot of stuff, and there's big scenes of her, but it doesn't really have to do with her intrinsically. And then 36 is her clash with the Beyonder, which I think is like big. It's one of the first times she goes one-on-one with anybody. And I don't think you need all the Secret War stuff Riley had through issue 40 in theirs. I was like, I don't know if you need all that. I think 36 kind of gives you the fireworks, and that's what's really important. And then I skipped ahead to 46 through 47 because that is kind of the Mutant Massacre tie-in, and they fight Magus, who, again, that's kind of really important to the plot that develops all the way through Inferno. And Illyana has a lot to do in issue 47, and then also in issue 50 that really like implies a lot of stuff that's going to happen later. And then the chat and I have been going off about how you absolutely need New Mutants 52 because that is her big fight with, is it not with Belasco, with it, is it Sim? There's like a big Illyana fight in 52. And then I think after that, in that first column, I have all the things you'd expect. I have the key issues of the Bird Boy saga where she starts to get really mad at Forge. I have Uncanny X-Men 231 where she realizes Colossus is alive. Then I have the actual issues of Inferno, and then I think Oatville had like her getting the legacy virus and her like being back on the farm. I don't know if you need all that. I think you just need 303 to be like, and then goodbye. Snoopy went back, yeah.
Sad important issues. You added half of a freaking run of New Mutants in there, but it's okay to skip when these 4 issues.
Because it's not the magic we really care about. It's like just the little girl going and like all the panels.
It's a sick little girl. Nobody cares about that. That's
why I have 303. And like I
said,
said,
I cut out a lot of Illyana. I was like, I don't think we need like, for instance, like the Colossus origins, because I'm like, I don't think we need a lot of baby Illyana.
So, like I said, I'm willing to cut a ton of stuff on that one long line of New Mutants, 24, 25, 29, 31, 32, 34, and 36. I would almost cut everything except for 36, honestly. So that really would take out a lot of the double dip.
Amanda Sefton. All right.
What? But I haven't even talked about column number 2 yet. Now, column number 2, I think, has a lot in common with what everybody else did.
I like these.
Yeah, Mystic Arcana, duh. Just the very core of the her coming back in New X-Men. I think we all have that. The second story in Divided We Stand. By the way, there are some other short stories in that period that she's in like X Nation and Serve and Protect. None of them really are about her the way that story is. That story is very much the link story between New X-Men and X Infernus. We all have X Infernus, duh. I have the exact same issues as Riley on New Mutants. Those are the ones she's big in. 1 through 4 you need. And Ophel is right, because it's basically her coming back and like, oh, let's resolve this Legion thing. And that's the reason Cyclops hates her so much until he lets her on the team. So you absolutely need them. In 9, we basically get the explanation of like, oh, you are in hot, deep magic. And then 15 through 21 is the Fall and Rise of the New Mutants, one of my favorite arcs of X-Men of the last 20 years. And it's basically the sequel to Inferno. If you don't put this in this omnibus, what are you doing? It's one of the biggest magic stories of all time. So Riley was right. Then Riley had all of 25 and 28. I think you can do some picky, choosy single scenes in here because basically she's locked up. Colossus has her in jail. And in every one of these issues up until Fear itself, somebody visits her in jail, basically. So you don't really need the rest of the issue because at no point does she interact with anybody who doesn't walk right up to her jail cell. So that's in New Mutants 25, New Mutants 28, Uncanny X-Men 540. Then Cyclops lets her off the leash in 542, 543, which I believe Oatville has, because that's actual Fear itself. And then I have Uncanny 9 and 10, which is right before AVX. And I really, really debated on if it needs to be in there because that's where her and Colossus really have a reckoning about what she's like turned him into, because he has this deal with Sidorak now. None of you have it. And I don't know, it seems like it was pretty important to me. And then in actual AVX, I'm not going to talk about all those lines. She never really has one whole issue where she does something in AVX. She like fights Black Widow. She's on the moon. She fights magic. She fights the Avengers. Her and Colossus yell at each other. And then she's out. There's like no body to the story. So I don't think there's any whole issue you really need from AVX, except for maybe 5, because that's when they all arrive on the moon and it kind of explains how they got the Phoenix power. But I think you do that all in excerpts, and all the excerpts together only add up to one issue. And then I agree with other people who've said you probably need the end of Consequences, at least all of Consequences 5. She only is in a total of 6 pages before that, because Consequences 5 sets her up as Scott and Magneto's lieutenant. Personally, I would like to end this right at the beginning of Marvel Now. I think you get her story from A+X, which is a team up with Thor, which kind of shows you she's a good guy now. You get Uncanny X-Men by Bendis 5-7, which is that Limbo arc, which she's incredibly prominent in, and it gives us her in the full black costume to appreciate at least once in the omnibus, since we're going to use those covers. And then finally, I agree with Oldfell. I think it should end with What If Magic. It's a phenomenal issue. Actually, I think it was my favorite single issue of that year. I don't know if you need Doctor Strange at the end. I'm not going to be angry about it. She's not as prominent in Doctor Strange at the end. But What If Magic is... It kind of could have just been called Magic the End. It's kind of like, what is the far future version of Magic? So I thought that's a really cute, sweet story to end the omnibus on. So I think I have enough that I could trim, that I could get this down to 1. But I wanted to give you what I thought, if you're watching the show, if you read this, you will have had the full Magic experience up to Marvel Now.
All right. What's the next slide? Can I go to
Next slide is just us making notes. So now we start arguing.
Okay. So it seems like most of us have the necessities, like the issues 160 and the Magic miniseries. I think every single one of us had that in there, right? I know I had it in there.
So.
Okay. I had it in there. I had 153, 160, 167, but which I can trim down the pages, just like I can do the pages of Colossus too. But I think you need all of Magic and 160 100%.
I mean, we all have it, right?
I would be okay removing 153 and annual number 8. Is it necessarily? No, but it's so cute. I love it. I love the relationship between Kitty and Illyana, and those issues show it.
I also have 153 like asterisk to be cuttable, but I do like that it establishes her friendship with Kitty that becomes so important later when she joins the X-Men proper. But it is kind of killer. So I'm like,
This is gonna be on a test. It wasn't taken. We'll get on it now, Renee. Get on it now. We can do Gambit one day. We've talked about it. That would be fun, and then argue. So, Peter, Riley, Oddfell, are we in 100% agreement that we keep material from Giant Size X-Men 1? I think it's just 1 page, right, of her running as a little girl. We keep Uncanny X-Men 160 and Magic 1-4. Like, that is 100% the beginning of Illyana. Okay.
My shower thought earlier today was, like, about whether or not they ever had one of those saga books for Magic. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. The little digest size books. Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, like, when you go, like,
I'm sorry, the big ones.
The free issues, it would be like the Wolverine saga, and it shows like basically all the major beats of the character, not in publishing order, but in chronological story order. So that if Marvel was doing, I don't know if they still do them or not, but like if they were doing a new number 1, they would put one of those out so you could understand like everything that Logan's been through up to this point in like a quick, 20 pages of mostly text with like panels from the comics. And in my head, I was like, if they haven't done one of those for Magic, like essentially having that for all the like little bits and bobs before she joins or before she goes off to Limbo would be a really effective way of like portraying her childhood and like a bunch of the flashbacks and stuff. So
Peter, how many pages would you say, like if we go back to yours, how many pages did you have happening? Like one page. So you got 3 pages before 160. Which is where the big change happens.
Yeah, I wanted to get into it. I just wanted to give people a little bit of information about who she was.
And I'm actually that's good with me. 148, 154.
But let's keep in 153 for now, and let's see how many issues we wind up with. Because 153 establishes how close she is with Kitty, and I although it does keep us from getting to Magic, but I see Ophil's argument.
Gizzard might grow into a heart one day. I have faith.
I'm hanging out with you too much, Omar. I'm getting soft.
I think that's what it is. Okay. So everybody's in agreement. 160, giant size, 1 page, and then Magic 1-4.
Now, 2 of you have New Mutants 13.
That's the beginning of the Kitty gets kicked out and goes to the New Mutants, but it also shows the beginning of Magik like joining the New Mutants officially. I think in issue number 15. So I think for mine, I had 13 through 15. Yeah, because I didn't want to keep going with it. Because technically, we could go all the way to issue 17.
I had it through 17 because that's really when they find out she also has magic, not just mutant powers.
And we
but
could
it could probably be trimmed down to like 14 through like 15, 16. But I feel like 13 through 17 had good story flow.
Yeah, 15 through 17 is absolutely the story, but she's only, and I think you're also right, in that she's only mostly in 15. She's kind of in the background in 16 and 17, but it is
you didn't even have
story
joining the team. You just went straight to
24. I don't know if she's in issue 13. I'm looking at it now. I think she joins in 14.
No, I added 13 because that is Kitty getting kicked off of the X-Men and she's too good to be with the New Mutants. Officially, Magik, but that's,
so you're going to put that whole issue in your Magik Omnibus just because
we can put
Professor Xavier's a jerk?
But we can put a page from it. That's fine. It establishes like, and you know what? We don't even have to have the whole thing. Fine, whatever. I don't care anymore.
Well, I think what you actually need are the 2 pages from 168 where Xavier tells Kitty she's not going to be in the X-Men anymore, and she says Professor Xavier is a jerk. But we can have pages from 13 too. They kind of go together. They're the same thing.
I think either or, just to establish like the reason for the storyline they're about to do in like 15 through 17, just for context. But I don't think we'd need an entire issue, either 168 or issue 13, because they kind of do the same job.
Look at Odfell, the Great Uniter.
Okay, then how about a couple of pages, and then do what Odfell has here with New Mutants. I think you at least need her joining. Like,
14 is a big issue for her. Like, we all have it.
Yeah. So, what do you all think? 14 through 15, as far as all the issues. It's the official, like, her joining the New Mutants.
Yeah, I just worry if like 15 kind of just ends and it's like, and then they had a fight, but we're not going to show you that in this omnibus.
I went kind of Mystic Marvel. I admit I went kind of Mystic Marvel heavy with my mapping, but I think 17 establishes why she teams up with Doctor Strange later a little more. If
that's a good
you're pivoting it towards why she's so involved with that side.
Oh, and we need to decide right now before we keep things in and out. I'm with Oddfell. Like, I want to take this as far as I can possibly take it to the new series, if I can.
Well, then we got to be ruthless. I think we just take scenes from.
No, but we can decide right now first. Is that okay with everybody? Like, do we want an omnibus like Doctor Doom, or do we want a 2-volume omnibus like Loki? You have the old stuff in one omnibus, and you have like modern miniseries in the second omnibus.
I think she has enough from Marvel now to current to do 2. It's more of a matter, do we actually think she'd get 2 omnibus? Like,
I mean, she's kind of blown up, but I don't know. I don't know how well her series is selling. This is the first time she's had an ongoing series.
My thing is, I don't want anything from Krakoa, and I love Krakoa. It's not anti-Krakoa. I just don't know that at any point in Krakoa, in the actual Krakoa books, she has anything that I would call significant. There's like a couple moments in New Mutants, like 10 through 12, but even Odfell, who's like the master of magic and really loves modern magic, does not have a single Krakoa issue in her map.
So I went back and added a single stretch of them, like right before stream, because I forgot about them, but it's technically after the fall of Krakoa. Because I forgot that they did that arc where she gives Limbo to Madeline, but that's after Krakoa. There's really nothing during Krakoa that I think she really does that's that important to her character.
Yeah,
I think
I've got like 2 issues. I think it's called, what's it called? The Labors of Magic. But
what is it in?
It's let me find. It is.
I'll just bring it.
New Mutants 25 and 28. It's during the like Ashes of Krakoa or whatever that final. It's after the fall. But it's about her and Madeline Pryor.
Oh, that was a pretty fun
really,
arc.
Really the only time she does anything character relevant for herself and not just kind of being part of a team.
So could we all agree that in terms of Krakoa and Forward, that would be and that's a great cover.
Right?
Maybe that would be the latest possible thing in any of the books, would be New Mutants 25 through, where did you say it ends?
It's 4 parts, so 25 through 28.
28.
I totally forgot about it till like 5 minutes before, and I was like, wait, Madeline.
25 through 28, that was in 2024? Or 2020?
I believe it was last year. Is either late 23 or mid 24.
Yeah, because New Mutants has been over for a while, right?
Yeah, it was the late 23 because it was during Fall of X and before the fall of the House of part.
Okay.
Okay, so we can establish that as the latest release in this book.
Okay, then I think we need to make an executive decision and say, let's just do one omnibus instead of 2.
Ooh, okay, spicy.
Because if we do 2, we have a lot of freedom, and life isn't about having, well, no, not freedom. Life is about having limitations, and if we can't limit ourselves to one omnibus, I think we do greatest hits. We do greatest hits with some. Whew, this is gonna be tough. Okay,
I think that saying we do greatest hits is kind of going against what we're already establishing by taking like excerpts from pages and excerpts from issues. So that's
no. I think those are okay to add in a greatest hits. Like you get like a better understanding of the character because of that, right? By greatest hits, I mean like stories where you see her grow, like the important stories to get to know the character.
My biggest argument towards doing a 2-volume set is that there's such a clear-cut narrative point for her where there's a huge stretch of time that she's just absent. So it's like in the middle of this book, you're going to jump 15 years forward. And
the art's going to really change. Like the art when she comes back is like a totally different world of comics.
It makes it a little bit awkward, like for a singular book, because narratively it's not as cohesive. That's the biggest reason why, like, because I didn't fatten these books up at all, but like that's the narrative is the reason why I separated it into 2. And I think like if you're gonna shove a ton of stuff in there, that gives it even more reason to do 2 of them.
I mean, they do the same thing when they do Jean Grey collections. Like, there's usually a break between when she, like, is in Inferno and so on, and then when she, like, dies in New X-Men, then there's a gap. It's separated, it's collected time where she's not present. So it would reason to say they would do the same thing, so long as they thought they had enough for a second volume.
I mean, obviously she would. It depends on the popularity of the character, I think, right? She's got enough for it. I mean, you can fatten this up with a lot of New Mutants from both volume 1 and 3.
Because I mean,
you got yourself 2 omnis. That's easy. I mean, you could collect the entirety of New Mutants volume 3 because that hasn't really been collected in omnibus format or in oversized hardcover format outside of things like Second Coming, like part of the crossovers. I'm just thinking, I don't know if she has enough. Like, Doctor Doom has 1 omnibus, and he's been around a lot longer than Magik, right? I'm just thinking like that. And I know Phoenix has 2, probably 3 one day, because damn my luck. And Loki's got 2. I don't know. What do you think, Peter? 2 or 1?
As much as I would like there to be 2, because I'm like a glutton and I want to be so complete in our mapping, and I do agree with what Riley said with like it's just such a clear break point. It's 2 completely different styles, but I want to be realistic. This is a pretty niche character, and I think narratively, actually, it's much more satisfying if you get a book where you get to read her dying and come back. It's not Phoenix, where we've literally had 3 movie series or 2 movie series focused on her dying. Like this is I think it's to our benefit if we can hand this to somebody and say, this will completely explain who this girl with the sword is, whether you want to pick up her new series, whether you want to play Marvel Rivals. So I think as I was reading through it, it's so satisfying to read her death and then read her coming back. Like it's fun. So I think it should be one. I do. I would love to, but I think realistically we should map one.
Oh man, now we're divided.
This is my identity for the rest of the show. I'm just going to argue for 2 books the whole time.
All right. Well, no, seriously.
You have been right before. Times that you've argued for multiple books, it has turned out in your favor.
We'll just make it easier since there's 2 of us that are saying 1 book and 2 of us that are saying.
I think it's 3 against 1.
Wait, I said 1 book. Peter said 1, right? I thought Peter said 1.
Oldfell said 1 as well.
What did Oldfell say?
I said I was like, I feel like they wouldn't drop 2. There's a narrative where I could see them doing 2 if there's enough material, but I think Marvel would sell it as 1. I don't see them.
1 it is then. Okay. I was
Unfortunately, I want more magic, but.
Well, you know what? If we map it properly, maybe they'll make a volume 2, and we can stick more stuff in there. All right. Now that we've established as 1 volume after a 15-minute conversation,
and I'm glad they're tuning in for, baby.
I'm still arguing the point throughout the stream. We'll see what happens.
All right.
I want to be wrong. I want more magic, so please. I want to be wrong.
What is the next book then? Because to me, none of you put. I'm surprised Peter didn't either. You didn't put the Colossus one shot, right? Pages from the Colossus one shot, the Origins, X-Men Origins.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm not really big on retconning material. Like I looked in some of those Marvel Unlimited stories, and I'm like, does that really help us understand this character?
Okay. I can get rid of all mine too. Then I like that. That's how we're gonna start doing this. All right. So what is next then? We established Magic 160. What about New Mutants? Did we say 14 and 15 are definitely in?
We said 14 is definitely in. We said definitely not all of 16 and 17, but we were kind of like in the middle of the discussion of 15 when you went down the rabbit hole of is it 1 book or 2.
I'm glad I did.
I think she's so involved in Mystic Marvel, especially with how they're setting up her newer books, that at least having excerpts that tie her to Mystic Marvel are important, even if it's just like clips from 17. Because later on I also have a single issue where it's just her and Doctor Strange resetting like the world state that you might not need it, but it establishes why she goes to Doctor Strange later for things because they've teamed up before. So I think this seeds that story later and ties off that whole side of her that slowly builds the closer we get to modern.
Yeah, the more and more I look at 15, maybe you do need it because it shows her she's like psychically projecting with magical powers. Emma sees her projecting, she blasts her, but while she's away, she's inadvertently summoned some demons, and then the team has to fight the demons, and then they see a vision of like evil Darkchylde Illyana, and then they wake up and she's like normal Illyana. So I do actually think you probably need 15.
All right, 14, 15. Ship it. All right. Now Riley has a lot more New Mutants than I think than Oddfell and I did, because at first I had 13 through 15 and she had 13 through 17, but 14 and 15 worked. The next one I had was 32 to 34. You and Riley, I think, both have.
I have 36.
Riley and I have 21.
Okay. Okay. What is it about 21 that is so important?
I don't know, Riley. What do you think? I'm wavering, but I do. It's one of my favorite issues of all time, so that I think is influencing.
No, it's a great issue. It's an introduction to Warlock in Bill Sienkiewicz. I'm all over that, but
well, I guess you just said why. Because if it's the introduction to Warlock, like we kind of need to know a little bit about Warlock and Magus in order for Inferno to make sense later.
Okay.
And we have to know that somebody got like infected with the techno-organic virus, because even if we don't have Doug's death in here, Doug's death is like relevant to how angry she gets. So it's like, I really think that they're all that all starts in 21. But I do agree it's not like it's a slam bang action Illyana issue. I think it just has a lot of, she's in it a lot, and I think it has a lot of plot points.
I would be okay cutting it, and I love Bill Sienkiewicz's art, and that would be one of the only books that Bill Sienkiewicz's art is in here. Yeah,
In your version.
I like it, but I don't know if it's necessary, right?
I was really savage with mine as far as like if Magik is not driving the active plot, I don't want too much because New Mutants is so collected. But I might have cut a little too much out at times because of that. Like if it sets up the techno-organic virus so people aren't just confused by that issue later, then it is important. But I was kind of ruthless with like, is this her storyline? No? All right.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Look, here's what I'll say. If we cut it, there's this one Bill Sienkiewicz's page in the back that's from the files of Professor Xavier. That's a Magik.
Oh, that's a pinup
with him narrating. So we need that, right? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Did we settle the fate of the Amanda Sefton mini? Because probably belongs in a remap Revolution era if it goes anywhere, right? Dude, I remember trying to reach out to Jeff York, begging him to add that in the Eva Destruction Omnibus because it wasn't in the Revolution. I think I got flat out told no.
I think that may be why Marvel has a restraining order against me, that particular issue.
The Amanda Sefton issues.
I think I may have been a little too bold. I might have been a little too bold with my request, and then the restraining order showed up, and that was it.
Oh man. All right. Let's keep going then. Okay. So 14, 15, yes. 21, I say just add that one page. Now, like I said, you and Riley are the ones that are very New Mutants heavy, and I'm with Oddfell. I'm
willing to jump to 36. I don't know if there's anything plot critical to her. I'm looking at my notes one more time before I agree. But I don't know if there's anything that we will be afraid that we've missed if we skip right to 36.
So 30, it's a story arc though, right? Like it's 36, 37.
No.
36 is when Kitty uses the Soul Sword to reveal Magik's true form, but then the next important arc really starts at 71, I would say.
Dang, my girl is really cutting these hard. I
like that with the axe today.
I wrote notes. I was like, I need these notes because I'm not going to keep them straight, but I have like 36 starred as being an important like reveal issue.
I was actually there was a lot I wanted in here. Like my original ideas. I was with Riley. I love 31 through 34. Love it. And it is Illyana taking us on like a dimension world tour in the search of karma, right? Like going to that altered dimension. I think, don't we get like an evil Illyana? Like an older Illyana in one of the stories in there, Peter? You just reread them or looked through them, right?
Yeah, but it's not, she's an active member of the team. She gets a lot of big scenes, but it's not plot significant. If we get an older version, it's just them. There's a lot of like the team reacting to, oh, maybe she's scary. Like that happens a lot in this whole run.
Yeah, I'm okay with cutting all those. Riley, right, you haven't said anything. You want to fight for yours?
No, I'm waiting to fight for 2 volumes when it gets too fast.
You got ship is sailed.
Okay. I wouldn't count it out.
Okay.
I love it. I love that.
All right. 36 through 40. Then we've got 47. I think 50 is a very essential issue. I like the idea of having 50. I know Oddfell, she hates the original New Mutants so much she cut it out of hers, but she put all 21 issues of Volume 3 in there, showing Zeb Wells some love.
Oh wait, okay. So what did we decide on the 31 to 34?
To cut them.
So I was looking at it and I realized the reason why I have those in there is because the involvement of Sim as well, and so I was kind of focusing on a lot of the stuff that had Limbo, like relation to the Limbo stuff in there. So I don't know, like. Because all of that is important to Magik in general, so that's why I had those in there mostly.
I like them in there too. I I think we were just trimming the fat to make it to add other things in there.
We could asterisk them and come back and see like how full we've made it, and if those are ones we need to come back and cut.
Oh yeah, if we got room. Those are very. I love those issues, like on a personal level. Yeah. Okay, so that I don't think I've got any until I had the same ones. I had 32 through 34, and then I had 50, 59 through 61, which is the Fall of the Mutants, and then 65 and 66, which starts showing the beginning of like the Darkchylde storyline. But I'm okay with Peter, like he said. Like Riley put 63 to 73, 11 issues, because he's like, we ain't cutting shit. We're gonna just put the whole thing in there. What did you have, Peter?
None of you have this story from Marvel Superheroes. It's like her first true solo
added. I know what you're talking about. That wasn't that they put that in Omnibus 3, didn't they?
I think they did, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and add it though. I think that's a good story.
So Riley starts at 63. I start at 63, but then actually I have all that too. What was I thinking?
You got a lot. Riley's got 63
I'm willing to start getting ruthless. I want to trust Oldfell here. If she has 71 through 73,
I would be okay just adding 63 in there. I think 63 is an excellent issue. Like that showcases her, right? I'm looking at the cover, and that is a solo Illyana story. That I like adding into these mappings. I mean, I wanted to show a dark side of her, because remember when she first reappears in Scotty Young and Colin Yost's run on New X-Men? She's not really Illyana, right? Like she's Darkchylde at first. So that's why I wanted to showcase like a little bit of that going on in the stories of New Mutants.
Yeah, and 63 also reveals a lot of things that we haven't seen, that she's basically like explaining stuff that happened in the background. So I think that's actually really important. But in my notes, and I'll go look again, I have that 65, 66 is an Illyana story.
Oh yeah, it is those are the ones against Forge, right? Yeah, she goes after the Freedom Force because she wants to send Forge.
So you're saying we're going to like skip over an Illyana story?
No, I think we do. I think 63, 65, 66. What did Riley's got those? Oddfell said, screw that.
I skipped to 71 because I was afraid to put too many.
Inferno, baby.
I was so afraid. I was like,
I put 59 through 61 and then 65 and 66. What did you have? Riley put, well, we've already established Riley put 11 issues. What did you have? You had 50, 52. You did not have those 51. You had 60, 61, and 63 to 66.
If 63 to 66 is critical, then I think, I mean...
64
I struggle with 64. 64 is the actual funeral, but it shows her getting like sadder and sadder and angrier, and at the end they see Forge on TV from X-Men 225, and she's like, the price he paid was my brother's life, and like she swears she's gonna get him. So I'm like, oh, should we just put like all 4 issues?
That's why I felt like it wouldn't make sense to leave it out for just the context of it. Like, I think it needs to be in there to bridge 62 to or 63 to 65.
Yeah, but then I am okay with cutting 67 to 70. It's mostly Sam and Lila. Like, it shows some transformation for Illyana in 68 and 69, but I think by starting with 71, you understand that has happened.
Yeah, she has gone darker and darker. I like that. I like having... I'm actually okay cutting 64, but I think 65 and 66 really shows her tapping into that dark side. I think 63 is crucial because it's a solo story. I just don't like keeping all of these New Mutant stories in there because hitting the high points and hitting the big parts of the story is what's important to me to get through this. But I do think Inferno is necessary. Because, I mean, that's where the big change happens, right? That's the fight with Sim. That's the fight with Nastareth. And that's when her body, you know, she loses everything and she becomes a child again.
Yeah, and also I think adding that Gossamer story, even though there's a lot of Illyana in it, it's like that's not the greatest New Mutants story of all time.
Are there pages that you would say to take from that, or do you just cut it all together?
I mean, I wanted to include it, but I'm trying to make room for all the other stuff that we want to add.
Oh, like the Amanda Sefton Magic series. I got you. Thanks, Peter. All right, so Peter has.
Yeah, it's just a lot of Gossamer like manipulating them. It's not. I
Nobody
really
even knows who Gossamer even is in the chat.
I'm ready for Gossamer comeback.
I'm ready for a Gossamer Omnibus. Let's go.
Gossamer Omnibus. Gossamer and Burbrain team up.
All right. This is the stuff we've agreed with so far. Okay, so let's get back to this then. After that, go ahead.
I think snips. Like, I don't think you need the whole issues because there's a lot happening around it that I don't think you need. But I think chronologically, it's around right before this also that in X-Men, an Uncanny X-Men 190 and 191, she teams up with Strange to reset the universe after like a bunch of characters die. And it exhibits her and Strange working together with time magic, which kind of helps lead into later arcs where she's like an apprentice with him. I don't think you need the entire issues, but I think the pages where they're teamed up would be helpful to establish it like this is something that's been going on for a long time.
And that's right after New Mutants 25 is when that happens. Well, and the other thing too, and none of us included this, but if we were to include her doing anything in Savage Avengers, which I guess maybe we can't because Conan's in it, but all of that is precipitated by Uncanny X-Men those issues that Oatville's talking about. 190 and 191. I think maybe you could just like have plot, like excerpted panels in the style of the classic X-Men omnibus that just shows like, here she is doing magic with Doctor Strange. I don't know if you need the whole Kuangoth story.
Oddfell's really
not really like
this magic and Doctor Strange thing to happen.
Well, like, so I think if you don't, it kind of comes out of nowhere when they get to the point of Bendis's X-Men. It's like, why did these characters even know each other? Why do they have this dynamic that is like she's trained with him before? Because really, it's not mentioned for like a decade after these issues. So I feel like if you're going to condense it, it does give context for newer readers as to why so much stuff from like, I would say 2015 on involves Doctor Strange suddenly.
I think 190 and 191, by the way, those are two of my favorite underrated X-Men comics ever. I love those. I don't know if it features a lot of her, but I know that she's in it. She plays a big part towards the end. So, okay, I'm okay with keeping pages from that.
Even if it's just like those two when they reset the timeline, I think it just makes the later Strange stuff not come out of left field.
So we're gutting the heart out of this omnibus, right? Because we pulled 153. And nobody said anything about.
No, we said maybe 153. We said we're going to keep it in until we need to cut it for space.
3 of us voted for 231. Which ones of us have beating hearts here? Let's see. Riley.
I think you need 231 to explain Inferno. I don't know.
Riley's got it on his.
Yeah.
Which one is 231?
231 is the aftermath of Fall of the Mutants, where she thinks. Like, she believes her brother is dead. So it's like a team up with Colossus and her. Because after Fall of the Mutants, the world thinks the X-Men are dead, including the New Mutants. It's a really, really wonderful, beautiful issue. Although DV is saying it's not an Illyana story, I think it is an Illyana story. I think she's like the last one in the panel, isn't she? Because she thinks that's her brother.
No, what? I think DV is saying 153, not.
Oh, 153 is a story of Illyana, not an Illyana.
Right, she tells a story. It's kind of like the bookend to Kitty's fairy tale. Like, Illyana tells a story about herself in 53 in the way that, if I'm thinking of the right issue. Let me look at my notes.
Yeah, it's after Fall of the Mutants, and they have a fight, I think, in Limbo, and she thinks that her brother is dead, and it turns out that he's not. That was a team up that happened. I thought it was a beautiful issue. Again, we're talking about 231.
Yeah, I mean,
essential.
I think it's essential because it's one of the first times that she's together with Colossus while she is her age. Like, they're pretty much separated the whole time that they're pretty much separated the whole time that she's that age until that issue. He never really gets to spend any time with her as teenager Illyana. So I think it's kind of important, especially if we're going to collect all the way through the AVX stuff, to like establish some kind of relationship between them with her not as a little girl.
Yeah. And Harvey, you came to the right place because we're just talking about that. That's in the Magik miniseries, Magik, Storm, and Illyana, the one that Riley has here on the cover. A lot of that is there. Okay, so what is next? Because we need to cut some of the stuff out. I'm okay with cutting out X-Men Annual 8. Do you all want to keep Annual 9? That was Oddfell's suggestion. I think she's the only one that had it on her mapping. I don't see it on yours, Peter.
So why do you have Annual 9?
I had it there just because it's the first time we see her full demon form, but really it's not a very long appearance, just like the first major like full demon. I don't even think they say Darkchylde, but it's like her first full demon form.
Sounded like a Pages From to me.
Yeah, so I mean, even if we cut it though, I think we've been building towards Darkchylde, but could be worth it, could not be worth it. That one I'm not super married to.
Not super married to. Okay, I think it's going to come down to what we're super married to. I'm okay with cutting it. Riley, thoughts on Uncanny 8 or 9 Annual?
I think, like Peter said, it sounds like material from.
Okay, let's keep on trucking then. So it looks like, so I mapped mine like you all did, beautifully, like in chronological order. I actually have the Soul Skinner saga in here, but I'm okay with cutting it because you all are right. We gotta get to the good stuff, right? So 303 explains she's sick, has the legacy virus, and dies in that issue.
Oddfell also has 25. So is there an argument? But 25 is really mostly about
25?
ripping the adamantium out of Wolverine. So what do we need from 25, Oddfell?
So that's where she gets infected with the legacy virus to then lead to her death in 303. Do we need the whole issue? No. Do we really need to know she was infected, or can we just assume that from reading 303? Like, kind of depends on how you think narrative flow would work with that. But I just have it there because that's the issue she gets infected.
I say cut it. I like 303. I added the Soul Skinner for that very same reason, Oddfell, like to show that she's sick. Oh my gosh, her mom and dad just got killed off. Poor Colossus.
Yeah, I'm like, 303 is such an iconic issue. It might stand on its own without needing context.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way they wrote it was kind of like, even if it's one of those, if you read one issue, we'll only read this, you know, like they kind of expected that you wouldn't necessarily be all caught up, and they sold it on that.
So I do have material, and it's just, I think, a couple of pages from the funeral, and that's it, from 304.
From 304.
I don't know if, maybe, Riley had, I assume that's what he meant. Riley had 301 to 304. You're not super married to 301 or 302, are you? That's when she goes back, she's sick, right?
If those need to be cut entirely, or just take pages or panels, that's fine also. Or just like a page that explains, like, sometimes they have a page of just text that says this happened.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
All right, so we've made it to new Illyana then. We've put the classic Illyana to bed at this point.
Yes, with the exception of the New Mutants Truth or Death miniseries, which I had in mind and Riley has in his.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Peter doesn't have it in his.
So what's the case for including Truth or Death?
It's a time travel story where the New Mutants, after the New Mutants, of course, the series is over and X-Force has been around for a while, travel back in time and meet their past selves, like including Magik when she was part of the team. So it was like a reunion of sorts for some of these characters. I believe is it collected in an omnibus already? I added it here because I could not think off the top of my head if it was already collected in an omnibus. And if it was collected in an omnibus, it would probably fit into a New Mutants or X-Force omnibus. Then again, Excalibur, because Rain was part of Excalibur during that time. And it's also a Ben Rabb story. Thank you, Dr. Zero. I'm okay with...
Well, let's put in Truth or Death for now, and let's see how many issues we end up with, and then we'll see what we got to cut.
It's a 3-issue miniseries, so...
Yeah, I am. Why not?
Okay.
Also, if you want to highlight like just a couple of comments back in the live chat, DV was saying we got all the great stuff from Inferno, but there's a couple of pages from Excalibur 8 that we need, and I did not review that. I have my Epic collection right here, though. Does anybody know what pages?
Excalibur 8?
Is Excalibur 8 the one that ties into the Nightcrawler mini?
No, I think it's during Inferno.
No, 6 and 7 are Inferno, right? Excalibur 8 is the fill-in issue with Ron. Is it Ron Lim, I think? I could be mistaken.
DV, help us. Tell us what we're looking for.
It's the fill-in issue with the Ron Lim. They're still in New York.
Oh, because Kitty sees Illyana as a kid?
Yeah. But that's I think like a
yes, they're like literally in the rubble of the mansion, and she sees Illyana as a little girl.
Okay, sure. Keep that page in. Excalibur 8 is when Kitty meets in the New Mutants in the ruins of the mansion, and Kitty sees Illyana as a kid. Thank you, DV. We're adding it. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, do we need to? Probably not, but it's
easy 3. Well, no, because it works as an epilogue to Inferno. Like, it's these 3 pages that they're cleaning up, and Kitty's like, hey, guys. And then Kitty is like, she was my best friend. Apparently, Kitty was sure. So, yeah, I think include it.
Okay. Now, we need to talk about something serious. That is the X-Men Magik series.
Well, one of us included it in their maps, and the other 3 didn't even consider it at all because it was such a crazy idea.
Yeah, I just thought like people would like if it's a Magik Omnibus, then I wanted to include that Magik. That's why I almost included the Warren Ellis Soul Sword story. That it can be transferred to somebody else. That's why I went with that Amanda Sefton miniseries. Also because it's never been collected. But I can be. I don't have. I'm not married. You know what? No, I am married to that one. I want to keep that in my omnibus. What's the reason why not? You guys want to make it just an alien?
It's not about magic.
Because then it implies you not only need the Soul Sword, but you would also need to include the Colossus books from when he wields the Soul Sword, and or books with Rasputin when she wields the Soul Sword, because now you're doing something with magic as a mantle instead of Illyana.
Oh, so look at the succinct. Mwah. Oldfield just put it perfectly.
What do you think, Riley?
I really don't even understand why there's an argument for it.
That's how much he's dismissing your idea, Omar.
You can go to hell too, then. Fine, we're cutting it. Guess what? This is what happens in the X office when they're trying to map an omnibus, and they're like, no, we're not going to put that in there because of people like Peter and Oddfell and Riley.
I think
you can retract that restraining order whenever you feel like it.
I feel like the only way I could see it working is if you put it in the back with like the AU and the what if stuff, if there was space.
That is a very kind compromise. Oddfell, she of the Phoenix Omnibus, is offering to you, Omar, he of the No Uncanny X-Men Volume 2.
Okay. All right. Fine. Take it out. Okay. Then the next storyline where she does appear, Illyana comes back, and that is a new X-Men 33 to 42.
Well, we need Mystic Arcana. Yes? No? Maybe?
Mystic Arcana.
I totally forgot about Mystic Arcana. Does that whole thing happen in Limbo? I'm trying to remember. It's been forever.
I don't know. Even reading it, I was like, what is going on here? Because it's from 2007, so she's not quite back yet.
An omnibus, along with the Gossamer Omnibus, not going to happen. Then you have to include X-Men Unlimited 19. See, I had X-Men Unlimited 29 in mind, but Peter was like, he kind of took me out of my own mapping. Let's see. I put Mystic Arcana in mind, but I thought it took place later after the new X-Men stories, after she came back.
Maybe I'm just confused now. I don't know.
I've read it once forever ago, and I don't remember where it slots in. It kind of just exists.
I'll be honest with you. I had the hardcover, and I gave it away because it was not so great.
But she is on the cover, and like it's a whole, like at the point that Magic's on the cover, and then
so it's 2007 is when Mystic Arcana Magic came out. So it's after
she takes
Return.
Danny to ancient Egypt, and it's written by Louise Simonson. So it's actually set during New Mutants. Yeah. So it's a retcon story, but it's by Louise Simonson. So I think that makes it relevant.
Thank you, John. I'd leave it in the Nightcrawler, and I want to put Amanda Sefton in the hot tub. That's the cover. That's the one. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Mystic Arcana resolved.
Okay, I say keep it in there. It's the one of the few Magic-centric comics. We have to have it.
Yeah.
Now, New X-Men is her return 33 to 42. That's a lot of issues. But it is the return of Magic. I mean, that's what that storyline is. It's part of the childhood's end. Is everybody have the same thing here? What do you all have? Oddfell has 40 to 41 of New X-Men. Riley had 37 to 41. So I think I had the most then. You, Peter, had 37 to 41. I had a lot more. I just wanted every page.
Why would you do that?
What
did
did you
do something so excessive like that?
I'm a completist, and I wanted people to have a better understanding about what childhood end is, and I love that artwork. So, 37 to 40. I think 42 is the ending, isn't it? I thought 42.
Is it?
Let me double check. New X-Men. By the way, this is New X-Men Colin Yost now, not Grant Morrison New X-Men, for people that are watching. You guys had 41.
Is 42 now?
42 kind of just ties up some plot threads before the start of Messiah Complex, but she's not really in it.
Let me see what I had. I think I had 42. Yeah, the Ace story. For some reason, I had a 43. Why did I have 43?
She's literally not in 42.
She's not in 42 at all?
I don't think. Let me look at the complete list.
Pass it up, then. 41 has the iconic image. 40.
Yeah, she's not in 42.
Endangered Species is the one I was thinking about. And then I had her in 43 because she's part of 43. But we don't need that. 37 to 41. Let's keep that in there, right?
Yeah.
All right. X Infernus 1 through 4. I think is yes. It's not a great story, but I think it's.
But are we going to pick up X-Men Divided We Stand 2 second story to link those two?
Oh yes. I had it in mind. I think Oddfell had it in.
I skipped it, but I see it would make sense putting it there.
All right, we're pretty far now.
Okay.
So then the next thing after that, X Infernus, is Riley's New Mutants list, which is objectively correct.
It's perfect like I am. Thank you.
That's a lot, guys.
It's so critical. It's like the most Magic starring in its series that have ever happened.
Let me see here. Okay, I'm the only logical one in this chat.
Maybe you're the only one who hasn't read it, Omar.
What?
Like if I was to,
I was not the biggest fan of Zeb Wells' New Mutants. I know. Oddfell put 1 through 21. She loved it.
I put it with the asterisk that it needs macheted because I don't remember which ones are filler, but that arc in general, the guts of it need to be there.
I remember the first arc being very Magic centric, which is why I put the first 4 issues. And what did you put, Peter? You put New Mutant. Oh, God have mercy. Let's see here. New X-Men, X Infernus. You put New Mutants 1 through 4, 9, 15 through 21, 5 pages of. You put the same thing, Riley. That's 15 through 21. What's the arc on 15 through 21? I don't remember.
The Fall and Rise of the New Mutants. It's Inferno Part 2.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That needs to be in there.
And 9 is the issue where Cyclops was like, that was some effed up shit that you did. And she's like, yup. Like, it kind of is like the beginning of that whole story. Because the thing she does in 1 through 4 is bad. Like, she kind of approaches them like, hey, we've got to get Legion and reel them in and contain them. You know, this is like a lingering duty of ours that we have left undone. And it's time for us to wrap it up. But then really what she's doing, if I'm remembering correctly, and maybe Odeful can back me up here, is she's like unleashing all of this eldritch nonsense, which is like kind of what she wanted to happen the whole time, but she doesn't tell them that that's what she's going to do. And that's how she ultimately defeats all of Legion's personalities in 4.
Yeah, like this era is really Magic playing fast and loose with towing that line between just flat out being an evil character doing the right thing. And I think all these smaller arcs that really highlight it are important, especially when it comes to what she does to Colossus. Like, not very many issues after this arc we're talking about.
Now, the reason I left out, like, 5 is kind of just like a downtime issue, and then 6, 7, 8 is Ex Necrotia, where she's there and she has stuff to do, but it's really mostly about Doug coming back. So it's kind of like, okay, well, that's not, especially if we cut out all that bird brain stuff, there's no point in showing him coming back.
And then 10.
And then the rest, Riley is right about 10. Yeah.
11 and 12, I think, are both Siege. 13,
Yep.
14 are both Second Coming. And
Yep.
then we get into the arc itself.
Yeah. Now, here's, I think, the interesting question in here. Somebody had, 2 of you had Hellbound.
Oh yeah, Hellbound is very.
Riley has it.
I've got it in mind too.
Oh, you've got it. Odeful does not. But Odeful, you said you considered it, right?
I considered it. I was worried about putting too much in, but if we've got space.
Oh, we got space.
But she's not in the first issue at all. But I guess it does, like, set it up.
She's not in the first issue?
No, she is not.
What? That's where your cover comes from.
I know, but she's not in the issue. I mean, I'll look again. No, I guess she is briefly.
Yeah, Cannonball's in there, and so is. I thought Magik was in that one too.
She's in the opening scene, which is like a flashback to set it up. Yeah, I guess we could say that she's in it. She's not really in the present day.
But it features like demons, right? Like Nazareth and Sim. So I thought, why not put it in there?
Yeah, now that we've cut out a lot of the New Mutants older stuff, I think there's an argument to be made for something that's like a little fresher, that has more modern art, that has her doing fun action. But I'm still not convinced it's important enough for her. I'm looking through it now on Marvel Unlimited. She's not even in most of number 2. It's mostly Dazzler. Did you guys think Dazzler was Illyana? I know all blonde mutants look alike to you, but
Guilty. That was me.
no, she doesn't even do anything in all of number 2. No, I'm standing strong in my opinion here. I don't think it matters.
I don't think your New Mutants by Zeb Wells matters that much either.
Well, that's because you haven't read it, though.
I have read it. It wasn't that good. I think I'm in the minority, though. And that's okay. I always have been. What do we decide on New Mutants Volume 3? You guys want to keep everything, or just the stuff that you and Riley discussed? Or do you want to do what Oddfell was suggesting, which is keeping issues 1 through 21?
I think trimming out the fat, because like Oddfell even said, like, that she has it in there with the intent of taking the machete to it. And trimming out the fat, a lot of the issues there are tied into events, and she's not central to that, but all the other stuff is really central to her story.
So, following Riley's map then, Peter? 1
Yeah.
through 5, 9, 15 through 21, 25, and 28, right?
Yeah, I was going to leave out 5, but I think it's fine to include 5.
And then I have 25 is the beginning of Abnett and Lanning's run, and starts with her leaving the team. And then 28, I don't remember how much she's actually in there, but she is on the cover.
She's basically half the issue of 28. Danny brings like a mystic to consult with all of them, And so you need to set up that he arrives, but then there's a lot of scenes that have nothing to do with her, where he's like talking to all the other members of the team, and then finally he visits her. But that's like the big scene in the issue. So I think it wouldn't even seem like excerpts if you just included 10 pages of it. It would just seem like, oh, that issue is short, because all the other pages have nothing to do with Illyana, so it excerpts really easily.
Okay.
Is this something that people can vote for next month?
Ooh, yeah, we could put it on the poll.
Absolutely, we can put this on the poll. Okay.
All right, so we just got done with all the things we agreed on about Riley being right. We're kind of like hemming and hawing a little bit on Hellbound, is what I'm hearing.
I don't think so. I think Hellbound is in.
She's not in it.
Well, then you can't use your damn cover.
Fine, I'll choose a different cover.
Fine.
Okay, it's resolved.
Fine. I can't. No, that's not how this works. How does reverse psychology work? How about we come back to freaking Hellbound?
Asterisk Hellbound.
Oh, God. All right.
What's next?
I think a lot of you skipped to Uncanny 544, but Uncanny X-Men 20, Volume 2, because the numbering gets all wonked in the
Gillen one?
sets up her tricking Colossus with the bands of Sidorak. I don't know if you think we need the setup for that, but I think it's a little important before just.
Well, I think the setup is actually in 540, and then the one that you're talking about, 20, pays off. It explains that she set him up after it all happens after the fact.
Oh, is that the?
Yeah, because 20 is the end after AVX, so that whole thing is bookended by in 540. So Fear itself starts. They're there's nothing that can stop the Juggernaut. Cyclops says, Magik, do you have any ideas? And Magik's like, oh, do I? And so Magik brokers the deal between Sidorak and Colossus. Then we see the aftermath of that in 542, 543. Then we get Juggernaut Colossus through all of that. And then finally, at the end of Uncanny in 20, she's like, oh, by the way, I planned this whole thing.
Okay. Because I was I had a star next to it, but no note. And I'm I think it's before, but yeah, if it's after, I still think both are important.
So I had the Fear itself, but I forgot to have that issue in there. I skipped past that entire 20-issue series. So I would say put the Fear itself arc in there, and then also have that as the coda after it.
So she's not actually in 541. So when we say the arc, we mean 540 and 542, 543.
But would you be lost without 541 just on that story itself?
I think 543 kind of just opens up with them still not being able to stop the Juggernaut. I'll look, but I don't think it's
Also, which issue is it that has me as a professed non-Cyclops fan, one of the best Cyclops scenes where he goes through every plan?
Oh, it is one of the best Cyclops scenes. You're right.
Plan B implies we only have 23 or whatever.
Yeah.
Which
issue was that issue, or was that one with Magik in it?
So I think it's, to answer the first question, 542 starts in a very kind of easy to pick up place because Juggernaut is just running. There's not a lot of plot material, especially since Magik wasn't in 541. However, 541 may be the one where he says the line. So I'm looking into that now.
Oh, we're gonna leave that in, but leave Hellbound out.
It has nothing.
Well, I'm not good saying. Cyclops line.
Nobody said that.
That's what I'm hearing.
So, Plan B? No, not Plan B. Plan 2.
It's such a good moment.
It is that one. All right, great. So we're leaving the whole arc in.
Hell yeah. I love that. Fear itself was such a disappointing event to me, but the X-Men arc was so good that I didn't even care it was Greg Land artwork.
No, right?
Oh, Peter loves Greg Land. All right.
Any Greg Land, we can get into this omnibus. I'm in favor. So let's keep up this momentum.
Greg Land.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
He's not.
Greg Land is my favorite. I love Greg Land. All right, so great. We got to the end of Uncanny X-Men Volume 1. So now we're in Uncanny X-Men Volume 2, right before AVX.
I say jump to AVX.
You don't want that story, right? No, but I guess I'm the only one who had it. All right.
I think it's a good story, but I mean, look, I wanted to jump into a badass moment, and one of my favorite moments that I think is really cool that I'm sure, even though I hated the story, happens in that AVX 5 and 6, where she becomes part of the Phoenix 5. That's a badass costume too.
Yeah,
I love Phoenix 5.
And you need 5. It doesn't make any sense if you don't have AVX 5. That is, I think, non-negotiable for the omnibus.
Is that the issue written by Hickman?
I don't remember. It was that bad.
No, that was a Fraction one. The Hickman one is where. Oh, wait. I looked at the wrong thing. No, it is a Fraction one. The Hickman issue is where it shows them like the Phoenix 5 like fixing Earth, basically.
Yeah, that's 6.
That's 6. That's why I kept it there.
That is the very like cerebral issue of the whole thing, and I was like, this is badass. But the rest of it, I was like, this is whatever.
This is just ass. Yes.
AVX is a mess, so I'll be real. I left it off because I figured one of you would have picked out the issues we needed that were critical. Because I didn't want to dig through it. I think Phoenix 5 is important. I just didn't dig through it.
The peons will do the work for me, and then I'll say, "That's right, guys. You were totally right."
So real.
It's such a mess.
No, you just had 5. I said 6, but you put 2 pages of 6.
Well, she's only in 2 pages of 6.
And then
but to Riley's point, it does explain what they're doing.
And do we need an explanation? It is a Hickman story. I think I would be okay with 2 pages and 4 pages from 7, and then 2 pages from 9. Now, Riley put, and you did too, the Consequences 5.
That's important.
That Oddfell said, fuck AVX.
I didn't want to mess with AVX.
But hold on, before we get to Consequences 5, she and Colossus don't actually lose the Phoenix Force in AVX. That happens in Uncanny X-Men 18. Then at like the top of AVX 10, they're just like smoking at the feet of the Avengers, and there's no explanation because it all happened off panel.
Well, so even the way the omnibus is mapped, it doesn't help to have those issues in there, right? Like I'm talking about the AVX omnibus because it's just mapped issues 1 through 12, and then it's mapped AVX 1 through 6, and then you get like the rest of the stories. So
here's our one chance to correct that.
Okay, I mean we could adding the pages from there.
And again, it's not like excerpts like picking individual panels. It's more like they just are, half the issue is just about them. So it's really easy to just pick it up.
We'd all like to forget AVX.
Yeah. Even rereading it for this, I was like, this is so upsetting.
It just doesn't make any sense.
It made me just hate the Avengers all over again. I don't want to go back there. I'm happy for the Avengers. They're really nice people.
I'm okay with those pages that you added then. You got like 10, 20, 22, 26, 28, 29, about 35 pages.
It's like an issue that's like you almost like put together a greatest hits issue.
Let's do that. What happens in AVX Consequences 5? I don't recall that one.
It basically leads into her becoming a big part of Cyclops' new team.
Okay. And that leads into
for a while she's just teleporting Magneto around, but then in issue 5 you realize that Magneto kind of has a plan to turn Cyclops into revolutionary Cyclops, and that like launches us into the next period.
Okay. I mean, if we're gonna launch the next period, I had it in mind. Oddfell, did you? You had? No, you did. You had some Bendis in here. You had Uncanny issue 7.
She doesn't really drive. Like I love Revolutionary Era Magic, but she doesn't really drive the plot in any way that's like specifically her arc. So I kind of just skipped through Bendis to focus on issue 7, which ties into her being in Doctor Strange and Last Days of Magic.
So
yeah,
I just had.
I do think 7's pretty important.
Which
I would have 4
one's
through
the fight
7.
with Dormammu? Which one's the fight with Dormammu? Is that
4
7?
through 7.
4 through
Oh,
7.
we gotta have that in there. That is a badass moment, and I don't even like Bendis X-Men. Like that was and it shows her costume that we're putting on the cover. Oddfell.
Such a good costume.
It's a great costume.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, that fight with Dormammu has to stay. So that was 4 through 7. You said, Peter?
Yeah.
Now you had 5 through 7.
Oh, 4 is like an in-between issue, and then the actual thing starts in 5. So if we're trying to be efficient, we could like clip it back a little bit. She's in 4, but the actual Dormammu story starts in 5.
I think we asterisk New Mutants 52, and we're gonna go back and revisit it. Sup, Kent? And yes, the Dormammu fight was awesome. Okay. Now, after that, Uncanny.
Well, after that, we're kind of in uncharted territory because now we're into charted by one person, Oddfell, because Oddfell is the one that really went past that and with a lot of specificity. Well, you did too a little bit, Omar.
A little bit.
Yeah, you went way past where I went. I feel like because I'll be real, I'm kind of behind on like the newer stuff, so I'm not sure what else she's popped up in. So you definitely have like the newer stuff.
I'm very behind.
I have read everything except for the Magic book. Oh, I wanted to end cap it with New Mutants War Children, which is like a retro series that I think, Peter, you don't like those, do you?
Do we have to keep forcing that into every omnibus over and over again? Is that our fate?
You goddamn right it is. Yes. I mean, we got to put the Blood Hunt issue in there of Magic. That's another one of her.
No, that'll be collected with her new stuff. Like we just got to get up to there.
This is the new stuff, Peter. This is a taste of magic, if you will. I put X-Men Prime 2 in there, or Volume 2, number 1 in there, because I wasn't the biggest fan of that era, but at least that kind of highlights some of the stories. Oh, Midnight Suns! I put 5-issue miniseries, man. That's a great
Is
David.
she in all of that?
She is in a majority of it. I want to say she's in all 5 issues. Maybe she's just in all 5 covers. But that does show you how we get hot Agatha, Catherine Hahn.
Do they unage her?
Yeah, in this, I'm not kidding. It happened in the Midnight Suns storyline in the comic. Midnight Suns and everything after can be left out. Vulture could go into the Warlock Omnibus. Ouch.
As
no
much
Amanda
as I-
Stapton, no War Children.
As much as I hate the Terrigen Mist era, I do think including some of Extraordinary is helpful.
I just had, I think, 1 issue of Extraordinary because it shows like her taking everybody to Limbo. What did you have, Oddfell?
I have issue 1, which is her moving the school to Limbo, and then I have 15 and 16 because 1 establishes that she takes Sapna under her wing as like a apprentice, and then 15-16 is the final fight where she has to kill her first student.
I do agree it's a very magic-focused story.
That one is. And it's a weird Lemire story.
The art is crazy awesome, though. The rest of Extraordinary, but I think that's important.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with 1. That shows that, like, how far she has advanced as far as her, like, being comfortable with her powers and just how badass of a player she is. 15 through 16, honestly, I did not remember. But now that you mentioned it, I'm like, okay, yeah, that could work.
They're
I like
both
that
just
idea.
the like Eater of Worlds fight or whatever they call the demon she turns into. They're both like a big fight.
Now I had Realm of X 1 through 4, but that's because it's written by my buddy Torun Grumback. I would be okay with taking that out, but it does show.
She basically just yells at people. Like there's not.
Okay. Go ahead, Peter. I'm sorry. You were saying?
She basically just yells at people. Like she doesn't. It's not. She's in it. I'm not saying don't read it, but I'm saying if we're trying to make a narrative about magic, I don't think she really does anything.
I will be happy to tell my buddy Torun Grumback that my friend Peter needed a magic omnibus, and your story got voted out.
You can also tell her she's the best writer of Catwoman in the past 15 years.
I will leave that out.
Now, here's the question I have for you. Well, I learn a little bit more about Midnight Suns, which I somehow totally misreading. Do we really need all of those Doctor Strange issues that you guys keep talking about? I have no recollection of what happens in them whatsoever.
So
Omar has 4, or no, Oval has 4.
I've got
Omar
6 through
has
10. I've got
6 through 10.
I've got 5.
So the
Because that's the
direct
last thing
follow
to
to the
get.
Dormammu fight leads into those Doctor Strange issues because they end up in the same prison essentially, which leads to them having like a big fight that ends in Doctor Strange Last Days of Magic, and then she goes back to just being in X-Men books.
Okay, is she prominent in Doctor Strange like 6 through 10? She's like a big player?
I think she's only really super important in issue 7, but there could be an argument made that you need the whole story for it to make sense.
Omar, do you think you need the whole story to appreciate the stuff that happens to her in 7?
Well, I mean, if we're gonna build up some of this Doctor Strange thing, like Oddfell's been trying to do the entire stream, I think that's the payoff, right? Like the Last Days of Magic that leads into the potential what if, and then the end.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong.
If we're gonna go that route, which I'm actually when she brought it up, that really makes sense. I'm good with that. I like that because
I'm
isn't
for
every
adding
issue
more.
in the sun, so it's starting to make sense to me. Like the story we're telling is starting to make sense.
like you see the progression of this character start off as a little girl, but become a sorceress and a mutant, and get turned into a little girl, get sick and die, and then disappear for about 10 years.
Well, if you want to reload, I think I've caught everything we've mostly agreed on until this point, and now we have to start counting how many issues it is.
Let me reload and see what we got. Good job, everybody. This is what happens when I don't drink. We get some things done.
No, I'm all for adding more Doctor Strange to it. I like when she's involved with Mystic Marvel. I think it's messy and fun.
Okay. Oh man, Peter, break it down for us. This is great.
Oh wow! Look at this,
Peter.
Oh, I'm talking now? Okay. Sorry, I'm still making notes and you've already reread it. So here's the breakout of what we've got. And I started breaking into issues, but then Omar reloaded. That's fine. I said to. So we'll count together. So we have that first little section of baby Illyana, right? So there's 3 one-page excerpts and 1 full issue. So we basically got 1 issue of content there. Then we have this period where she's manifesting her powers and she goes through the limbo stuff. So we have 5 whole issues, Uncanny X-Men 160 and Magic 1 through 4. And then we have probably no more than 10 pages from those other 2 issues based on the stuff that you, she's only in 2 pages of 168. And then we just need to show Kitty joining the New Mutants from 113. Illyana's not even in it. Then we have As a New Mutant. So we have 2 issues. And then we skip a bunch around. Then we have 36. That's 3 issues. We have 50. We'll count 52 for now because we said we're going to come back to it. So that's 5 whole issues and then a number of excerpts. So we're doing pretty well so far, I would say.
And 50 is double length.
Oh, no. Okay. We'll call that 6 issues then.
Okay. So altogether, how many issues do we have right now? James. James, how many issues do we have?
We have currently 12 whole issues and about 2 additional issues of excerpts.
As a whole, though.
Oh, well, that's why we're going through it. So that's another 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 13 and a half. 18 and a half, the other half, so now 19. So then there's 23 issues in the middle column.
Just in the middle column.
Yeah. And then let's see how many we wound up in that modern column. That's going to be what kills us. 5, 6, I'll include Hellbound for now, 9, 7 is 16, 17, 18, 19, oh boy, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 33, 34, 39, 40, 41. We have 41 issues in the final column right now.
Okay.
Plus
and
extra.
how many in the middle?
23 in the middle. Why don't you hit reload, Omar?
All right.
It seems that there's a really simple solution here.
Oh, Riley's been lying in wait this entire time, and he's ready to spring.
Not gonna happen.
If we have 2 omnibuses, I'm absolutely pushing for Labors of Magic to get at it.
I'm getting my Magic Amanda Sefton miniseries, and we have 2 Omnis. All right. So we have 23 issues, 41 issues, 5 issues, 6 issues. All right. So what we're looking at so far, oh man, plus excerpts.
So I think we got to cut some of that stuff that we're like a little about. I think this is our time.
Let's go ahead and do this. The Age of an Omnibus has about 70 issues plus extras. I can't remember how much Squirrel Girl had. Squirrel Girl, I think, is still the biggest omnibus.
Squirrel Girl has 58 plus the OGN.
I thought that was the bigger omnibus than
I think in page count it might be bigger, but maybe it's got a couple other things.
The count that I'm looking at here, where you have As a New Mutant 6 issues plus 30 pages, does that count everything below the bracketed stuff?
Maybe. Why did I count the wrong number?
I'm looking at it, and it it's 3, 4. Okay, yeah, it does.
Squirrel Girl is 59. Yeah, Squirrel Girl's got 60-ish, and it's 1,616 pages. So we're slightly in excess of that right now. We've got to cut a couple of things, and we can get there.
All right, I say we cut all of Zeb Wells' New Mutants.
Then you wouldn't have any good magic stories, Omar.
What do you? Well, I think Chris Claremont and Louise Simonson would beg to differ with you, my friend. Did we put Hellbound?
I think you're letting, in all honesty, I think you're letting a personal bias against the Zeb Wells thing, like, cloud the fact that it's really important.
Fine.
All 3 of us have it.
Okay, no, okay. I'm okay with that. It's fine. I say we cut New Mutants 52.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I hate to do this.
I think we cut 153 also.
Oh, yeah, let's cut 153. And if we're going to cut 153, we got to rip Peter's heart out. What did he have that he loved?
Omar's like, if I get cut, Peter has to get cut too.
Everybody hurts, baby. It's not just the song. Let's see here. Uncanny. No, those are needed. You know what? I say kill New Mutants, Truth or Death.
Yeah, it's just like too random.
It's too many issues, and it's random, and it's not centric on magic.
Is
I
there
like the idea of keeping Mystic Arcana. New X-Men has to be in there. Divided we stand. X Infernus. I kind of feel the same way about Hellbound. Like, she is. No, I think we.
I think the difference though is in Exit Infernus, it's the process of bringing her back, but in Hellbound, they're finding her, but just to use her in Second Coming, and there's no other Second Coming issues here, so it's like they find her, and then you don't get to see why in the book.
It's crazy that we only have her as a New Mutant for 6 issues, and now it's going to be less, which is where a lot of that was my magic. We have a lot of in the middle, the Inferno stuff, and then we have a lot of more modern stuff. And honestly, Peter, between you and I, there's enough here for 2 Omnis. I would never tell Riley.
Riley, shh, cover your ears.
All right, let's. I say cut Midnight Suns, even though it introduces us to hot Agatha Harkness.
I don't know. You kind of brought me around to it because it's like one whole contained story that's new. It has her in the costume. It's modern. Has it been in any other omnibus yet?
No, it's never been included in any omnibus. I don't see it.
So now you're kind of working on me now.
Well,
See,
neither
but
had-
if we include that, then I feel like we should push it to her giving up Limbo.
Which is in what?
It is in New Mutants.
Oh, that New Mutants arc.
Yeah, it's in New Mutants 25 to 28, like 2023.
You put 25 and 28 in there, which we could show excerpts of that. I'm okay with that. Are
Because
you
that's
guys
her giving up her realm. And I feel
Okay.
like that's the cleanest cutoff then.
real talk? Are we sure we really need New Mutants 1? I had 1 through 4, but we need 5 and 9, the complete issues in there.
You need 9.
9, yes. 5, maybe
You
not.
maybe take out.
What's I don't even remember 5. Is that the beginning of a new arc or?
No, it's kind of just shows like what's happening with them after the first arc.
Okay.
So
I kind of say cut that one.
okay, we're working together.
Uncanny X-Men 541 to 543.
We can cut 541, but
The cool Cyclops moment. Oh no, not in my Magik Omnibus.
Goodbye, you beautiful moment.
So that leaves us 542, 543. Uncanny 18 pages. All right. Uncanny X-Men 5 through 7.
that's the Dormammu thing.
Yeah, that's a really good moment. Like, that's a badass. Holy crap. She's a cool character moment. Extraordinary X-Men 15 and 16. What was it again, Oddfell?
That was her setting up Limbo and then her killing her first student.
Those are good moments too.
It's, yeah, like the rest of the
Dude,
towards is kind of
I'll
skippable, but it's a good moment.
how about we kill the Doctor Strange arc?
How about we just keep 7? Can we keep 7?
Doctor Strange? Yeah, I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. And then we
Okay.
keep Doctor Strange to the end, number 1. I'm okay with that. And What If Magic? I think What If Magic is another important issue.
But then do we need Doctor Strange number 4 anymore if we got rid of 6 through 10?
I feel like
And
you
do we
just
need Last Days of
7.
Magic?
I believe, I'm trying to remember how much he's in Last Days of Magic. I know it ties off the storyline with them together, but it's been a while since I've read it.
All right, I'm speed reading. 4, she's in a bar. He's on a flying carpet. She's not really in 4. Gone. Okay, so now Last Day of Magic.
Volume 1 should end with Uncanny X-Men 303. How sad of an omnibus. That would
Right?
be.
That would be such a bummer.
Hell yeah.
You fell in love with this character. She's dead.
DV's like, no, that's how we start off the second volume with the death of a child.
Last Days of Magic, mostly Dr. Voodoo. Talk about somebody we could map for an omnibus. And then, I don't know if anybody would watch it, but it'd be fun.
Dr. Voodoo?
Yeah, she's not really in the one shot. Okay, so we got it all the way down to Doctor Strange 7. That's really helpful.
Excellent. Okay. I say, did you talk to yourself, or are you still thinking about Midnight Suns? I'm good
I
with
like
leaving
it.
I think it's a great art.
Go ahead and reload the slide because I think we might have trimmed enough that we could be good, but we got to do some math.
All right, let's see here. I believe this is the less amount of time we have fought. Okay, we got 9 issues.
Yeah, this is a workable book right now. We're in.
All right, let's see what we got here. As a child, 3 pages, 5 issues, 6 issues, 9 issues, 5 issues, 9.5 issues. Very nice. I'm just going to round that up to 10 with all the issues, 15. And then we got about 4 issues, and then 14 issues plus. And actually, right now, with I have the equivalent of about 70 issues, and it gives us room for pinups.
Yeah, this isn't. You got to 70. Let me do some math here.
Because, well, I'm saying the equivalent of 70 issues because you're adding pages, plus 30 pages, and then excerpts. Did you say let me do some math here? You don't believe me?
Nope.
On the flashbacks part, you have it labeled with 5 issues. but it's just
0.5.
that.
0.5.
Oh,
Yeah.
0.5 issues. Okay.
Oh, did you? I
start
thought
counting.
that was 5
All right.
issues. I think we're at 60 something then.
22,
Are you using your TI-83? Peter? DV saying
No, you're right. It's like low 60s right now.
excellent. We got ourselves an omnibus, and we even have enough room for pinups and whatever. All right, we're down to one Omni, Peter and Riley. You mean 63 is a kitty story, really?
Do we want to push this all the way up to her newest series then? Do we want to put in her Maddie story that came out? Because that's really the only thing relevant between Midnight Suns and Magik issue 1. The rest of Krakoa, she doesn't really have any crazy development.
What issues is
Yeah,
that
I
in?
mean, at the point that we've pushed that far, it would be kind of nice to explain, to like leave her in a totally resolved place so that it's her whole history.
Because then it would be like the very next book after that would be Magik issue 1 for however long that goes.
I love how we're like, we did it. It's short enough.
And I'm like, more.
Can we add more Doctor Strange and Magic stories, please?
This one's all her and Maddie. This is Goblin Queen versus Darkchylde for Limbo.
I kind of like that too. How many issues is that?
4.
I think it would fit.
All right, add it, Peter, and then we'll refresh it and we'll pick our covers. Ship it. We did it. That was really fast. How did we do this?
I'm proud of us. This was actually really fast.
Right? I gave us limitations. Riley didn't get his 2 Omnis, and now watch them release a Magik Omnibus Volume 1. And it's going to be his exact mapping.
Happen. And then I'm going to, when you announce it, I'm going to see? I told you.
And Volume 2 will not include my X-Men Magic series with Amanda Sefton, and I'm going to be all pissy again.
If I was to make you an under the table deal and shake your hand virtually, I'd put the Amanda Sefton 4-issue mini in Volume 1.
My man, you're a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you.
Now.
He's like, well, now that you say it.
Well, now we're talking here. Peter, let me know when you're ready, and then I can refresh it.
Sure, I'm just making sure there's nothing egregiously confusing about it.
Confusing about you.
Okay, you can go ahead and reload.
All right, here we go. Our final mapping. We did it. Mapped our magic. Or your magic. Take us away, Oddfell. What are we doing with this omnibus? This is it, right, Peter? This is the right one?
I think, yeah, looks right.
All right.
If it has Omel's extra issues of New Mutants at the end, then it is the right one.
Yes, it is.
So we've got 3 pages collecting her the Belasco arc in Giant Size X-Men, Uncanny X-Men 148 and 154. Then we jump into X-Men 160, which kicks off the Belasco arc that continues through Magik 1 through 4, Uncanny X-Men 168, and New Mutants 13, where she joins the team. And then we have her New Mutants storyline, including pinups at the end there. And let's see, what was in 36? Which arc was that?
That's her versus the Beyonder.
Okay, so that's her Beyonder arc, clear through to 63 and 66, which starts Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, I'm trying to remember all of our little arcs here. We have her becoming a child again and getting reborn. A little excerpt from Excalibur, and then Uncanny X-Men 303, where she dies. We've got Mystic Arcana to kind of fill in the in-between spaces, and then we've got her resurrection in New X-Men 37 through 41, carrying through X-Infernus with Darkchylde. Then we've got the Bloodstone and Pixie arc, as well as just the whole Zebworld run is great. I'm just going to say it's great. So we've got all of that into Uncanny X-Men, which takes us to... oh, my brain is blanking on what that's called. Fear Itself. I kept wanting to say Fatal Attractions, but that takes us through Fear Itself, where she tricks Colossus. Then we jump into AVX, where it's Phoenix 5 and the fallout of that, which just takes us into the Bendis Revolutionary Era magic, where we get the cool costume. We have her fighting Dormammu, and then we have her moving the entire school to Limbo, her teaming up with Doctor Strange, and then subsequently Midnight Suns. Her giving up being Sorcerer Supreme of Limbo, there right at the end, and then we've got 2 lovely AU stories to tie it off with as well.
And that is your Magik Omnibus. Thank you all so much. Oh, we got to pick a cover really quick. I just bought the Revolution Omnibus for Black Sun Mini. I'm okay with Amanda. My man, Nick. Thank you. Black Sun Mini needs a follow-up. X-Men Magik. Wait, this is low stakes and it doesn't... Until it does, DV, then you have to buy it.
DV, I think if you've been following along in the chat, DV really knows the New Mutants issues well. And DV has like a page-by-page idea of what should be in the 50s and 60s. And I think as we departed from that idea, DV got increasingly tweaked. And so... But I think that, like, I think we love that on the show, right? Like, if you know the character well, come with your map and fight for your stuff in the chat. And DV's the one that made us put those pages from Excalibur in, So it's kind of like coming in knowing the stuff that well does help you participate in. Oh, you're on the first draft. Go back up a slide before you confuse everybody.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go.
There you
go. So I think that's why I like to throw a wrench into Riley's plan. He comes in here thinking he's gonna have 2 Omnis, and I'm like, no, it's 1. We got to cut budgets. And then trying to just up the prices. We can only do 1 Magik Omnibus, so make it good. I think this is solid. I like this.
Happen, and there are 2 books, and DV gets what DV wants.
Well, then you and DV can make your own publishing company and make your own 2 Omnis. Then
I would buy them. I want all of the magic.
Because it's good. If the new series goes on long enough, it's going to be 2 volumes anyway.
If the new series goes on long enough, it can have its own omnibus.
Yeah, exactly. There will be a second Magik Omnibus,
but it won't be a volume 2, right? Won't be a volume 2. It'll just be Magik, the new series or whatever it's called. What about the covers? We haven't talked about that. Whose covers are you all?
Well, now that we know the contents, now we can have a better idea of which of the covers matches the best.
Yeah, I like a little bit of that Bachelot design, which I think Oddfell and I were the only ones that chose it.
That was like my number 3, but I didn't have that issue in originally, so I was like, oh well, it's cheating if I use a cover from an issue that we don't have. Like I feel like that's kind of a bait and switch. But
thank you, Brad. Me too.
I love your bottom one that you have here. That's one of my favorite Magic spreads of all time. I just don't know if it's too obscure because it's not a costume she ever wears outside of this, but I'm obsessed with it.
I think it's so cool. I like Omar's main pick a lot.
The Inhuclee?
Yeah, it's an alternate cover, so it doesn't matter that we don't have that issue, and I think it shows her strong. I looked at a lot of these covers, and here's the thing. So you all complain about Greg Land and me liking Greg Land. Here's the thing I don't like. I don't like when modern artists draw young women characters so thin that their whole stomach to hips area is flat, and then they have this like massive thigh gap, and they have 2 little twig legs. I'm like, that's not a strong character. Like, these people are superheroes. They should look like they can body slam you. And I think out of all of the modern Magik outfit covers, this Inhuclee cover looks like she's like big. And I threw away 3 or 4 of them where she just looks like this little twig. Like, what's the point? So that's my personal pet peeve with how people draw women on covers. I don't know, Ophel, what you have any feelings about that, but
no, I agree, especially with Magik in general. I really hate when they give her super sexy designs because I'm like, she is a traumatized teenager, maybe young adult, but she's probably just buff and angry, and I don't particularly like when she's over sexy because it just doesn't feel right for her at all. I don't know.
Oh, here, you want to get in some controversy right now? Do you think Magik is potentially asexual or aromantic?
I actually just had this conversation with a friend because I was like, I could absolutely see it. I also think she has kind of and at times unhealthy obsession with Kitty, and I don't know if I see it as romantic or not. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I could just see that being her like only friend.
What's the girl version of bromance? Do you all have those kind of relationships where you're
Like,
really?
I mean, it's
She broke up Kitty's wedding.
yeah.
Oh, I know.
Like, they are either into each other, or if you go the path of her being Arrow Ace, I think she just latched on to the only person she was close to, really through all of it. And I think it could really go either way depending on how you see her.
I think about that so much. Like, I don't really ship characters, but then when people do ship characters, I stop and I think like, well, what do we actually know about their romantic interests? And when I look at Magik, I'm like, she really doesn't seem like she wants any part of that. And maybe it's always how she's been. Maybe it's because as a result of trauma. But like anytime people ship Magik with somebody, other than occasionally Kitty, but I think they just have like sapphic, is it sisters or more kind of vibes.
Yeah, like the only person I've ever really seen her really show anything that I would even consider romantic interest is Kitty. And I think it's also because like she was close with Kitty before all of the trauma. Which is why I'm like, I don't know if I see it as a healthy relationship, but I do like them together anyway. But I also, like, outside of that, I would absolutely be like, she's an Arrow Ace character. She's never really romantically hit on any characters. I think she makes out with, like, Warbird, or, like, asked to make out with Warbird, but it feels very, like, puffing chest fighting in a weird way, the way she says it.
I'm gonna
I mean, I've asked to make out with people in ways that are totally not linked to any kind of attraction, you know, like just like
it feels
because
like
that's the moment when you make out with that person. Yeah. Sorry, Omar, we've gone down a rabbit hole, but I've waited for at least a decade to have this conversation with somebody, and Ophel's right here and she's ready to have it with me.
Like when she says that off-kilter remark to Warbird, like it kind of feels like a threat, and it's the only time I've ever seen her like quote unquote flirt with anyone besides Kitty.
I would write a story about Magik and Gossamer, and that's just me.
All right, back to covers.
All right. So I think we need the cover of her, either mine or Oddfell's.
I really like both.
Standard
Like, I just
edition?
like the lines of how plain that one is, but I do agree with Peter. I love the one you picked. I've never seen that before now, and it's just so strong.
I love that cover. Yeah, it's one of my favorite covers, and Peter's unfortunately covered one of the best parts about the cover, which is her legs. But that's okay. Once this cover's on the standard edition, like
we can all see it.
we can all see the glory. It'll be covered by some kind of Marvel logo or something, or
Yeah,
Magic.
she's kind of doing a little bit of like a Brokeback thing there. So I was like, oh, if I covered it so much better. It looked so much stronger if I just
Yeah,
covered
she
that.
looks crazy strong in that.
You know, people really like Jeffrey Scott Campbell did the cover for the new Magic
Oh,
series,
made me angry.
and I didn't dig it. I was disappointed because I love the way he draws like Danger Girl in those characters, but there was something about this Magic. Maybe is that what you were talking about, Peter? Like skinny?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Magic seems like a stout girl. Like she'd be built like She-Hulk, not as extreme, but like very like extreme muscle to me. So I wasn't the keenest. Which is I like his covers, but just not for her.
Riley, what do you think, man?
I think I'm right.
Okay, two volumes. Two volumes.
If you have a classic cover, I really like the one you chose. I think like issue 4 of Magic is just iconic.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like that one and the David Finch one too. This was up in my top 5, the Scotty Young cover, when he had that cartoony style before.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, 42, I think, is the first time Scotty Young started drawing with his new style, that sketchy style.
Oh.
41, he still had that anime look to it. And that issue 41 cover is freaking awesome. I like that one became that one was really close. It was in my top 3 or 4. And I really like the one that Peter chose here too. That was in my top 3 or 4. I think we go with a modern cover and then a classic, at least a classic outfit. So I actually dig this one. Who's the artist that you and Oddfell picked?
I am not sure on that. I just know it was around the time of the Zeb Wells, and I since I included so much, I wanted something.
It's from the one comic we didn't include in this omnibus, so
I know. Now that it's not in there, I don't really want it anymore.
I just think it focuses. It's the same art style, but it focuses on her a little more than the Zeb Wells issue 1, where she's holding the sword perpendicular. Because I thought about that one, but it has like all the New Mutants.
Oh, the one with her. I mean, they can crop that, right?
Yeah, I just felt like that one's the same artist, I believe, and it focused on her more. But we did cut that book out.
That one could be the spine, the one from the Zeb Wells issue number 1.
Oh yeah, that would be a really cool spine image.
Or even underneath the dust jacket, like actually have the art on board. That image across the.
It is a wrap cover.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. I'm good with either 50 or Magik issue number 4 as far as a classic cover.
I also mentioned earlier about using Marvel Rivals art, and I sent a link to a tweet in the private chat. So there's just a couple images that have come out so far, but I think since she's gained so much new popularity recently with her being in that game, if this was something that was to come out within the next year or so, I don't think it would be a bad idea to have a cover with that. And they did have a variant cover with Rivals art, but it's like kind of crappy looking.
So it is very similar to the Bachelot, right?
Yes, yeah, it's very much based on the Chris Bachelot costume.
X Infernus 4 has a variant that is worth considering. What does that look like? Let me see here. X Infernus 4. Was that Zeb Wells too that wrote that one?
No, that was C.B. Cebulski or Akira Yoshida, whichever way you want to go.
At the time? Oh, okay. I see which one. It's this one here.
The design is so good. I need to play Marvel Rivals. All the redesigns are so clean.
Yeah, I figured you would be the one here that has played it. You or Riley?
I have no time.
I've had no time. I dove into Dragon Age, and that's a long game, so I'm behind on every other game. Because I want to play, like, the Indiana Jones game came out. Haven't touched it.
That Indiana Jones game looks so awesome. I just need to, like, get back into gaming sometime. All right, Peter, final vote. Should we leave it?
Don't reload yet. Don't reload. Give me a second.
What? Okay.
I said don't reload yet. Give me a second.
I haven't reloaded anything. I was waiting for you to tell me what to do. Wasn't she in the Midnight Suns game too?
She was.
Yeah, which is why it made it in this omnibus.
Like, that's what, like, I don't know what started her, like, recent boom of popularity, but she's beat a lot of X-Men into a lot of games lately. Like, that one, at least she's been on that team before. But there was, like, another app or something that came out recently, and she beat a lot of X-Men. Like, she was in the game way before, like, Emma Frost and stuff. I love to see it. I love Magik.
Art Germ. I saw a couple of Art Germ covers. I thought about it.
Art Germ.
I just noticed the Soul Sword behind Oddfell. Yeah, look at you.
It's one of my first cosplay props, because I cosplayed Magik in 2016. It used to light up. The flashlight that's in the handle is dead, and I haven't replaced the batteries. But it does
lit up for real?
Yeah, it lit up. It was kind of hard to see, but it would, like, trace around the edges of the blade and the white. If I would have, in hindsight, now that I know props better, if I would have, like, fogged the plexi, it would have glowed better, but it did light up. And it's big. It's, like, probably at least 4.5 feet tall.
Wow. So did you like feel like her carrying that huge thing around?
It was so, like, it's not heavy, but after carrying it around all day, you're like, oh my god, how does she do this? This is so heavy now. Because the handle's wood, so, like, it's decently heavy.
Okay, so We're just waiting on Peter. No
We're
pressure.
just making conversation while I
No
quickly
rush.
edit this list.
How is everybody doing? Don't forget to hit that like button. New Mutants Dead Souls has a cool one by Mark Brooks.
I love that series so much, and I wanted to justify using it because I love that series, but it just is never all about her. So I was like, oh, it killed me because I really wanted it to use it.
That's the Matthew Rosenberg series, right?
Yeah, it's like the beginning of when he starts all of his nonsense.
His nonsense? You mean like killing off a bunch of characters because it doesn't matter?
Yeah, but early on, it was so idyllic. Like early on, it seemed like, oh, this is going to be so fun. He's going to do so many cool things. But we knew he had to kill a lot of people in the end because it had to set up for Hickman. But like at the beginning, it seemed like it was going to turn into something.
Oh yeah, you know what?
Cutting Beast in Half is still my favorite. That's like
the multiple. I like the Multiple Man series from that era and Shatterstar. I think Tim Seeley that wrote Shatterstar during that era. That was really cool. So, can people vote for the cover? That's a good idea. What cover we cover? Yeah, let's vote for the Soul Sword cover. Either In-Hyuk Lee, which is my choice, or Chris Bachak. Oh. Let me start that. I'll let the chat vote. That's a good choice. Start a poll. Okay.
Yeah, gives me time to continue monkeying.
Yeah, let me stand next to it. You're gonna see the fact that I'm in like super casual pants, but I can stand next to the sword.
You wear pants to these streams?
I know.
I didn't know we were supposed to wear pants.
Right?
Wait, what? Peter, we've talked about this.
Yeah, so this is it on the floor compared to like my height. So,
oh my gosh. It's like wider than your body.
Yeah, it's a big sword. Cuz like I'm 5'7", so this is probably a little under 5 foot. But she's big. My friend's dad like had a plexiglass cutter thing. So I was like, here you go. Please cut me this giant like swatch of plexiglass.
There you go. Now everybody can go and vote, even people here on the stream. So you can vote for the cover. This will be the standard edition cover. So I'll give that a few minutes while Peter is doing something.
I'm doing my Mystic Arcana back here backstage and trying to put together a coherent list of issues. That does not have any mistakes, so we don't get yelled at.
Is it possible to see a Krakoa Omnibus anytime soon? Yes, we're getting the Sabretooth War and the Rise and Fall of X Omnibus in 2025.
X-Men by Hickman Omnibus as well.
This year. Yeah. Is that one still in print? I thought somebody told me it was out of print.
I have no idea, but it does exist.
It does. You're right. Magik with a Buster Sword like she's Cloud from Final Fantasy VII always seems off for me. I love it, man.
I love it.
I love it. I think it's a cool design. It definitely channeling anime and manga vibes, right? Like even her right here, she looks like she's got like Guts armor from Berserk.
Yeah.
It's so badass.
I think like for me at least it works because when it's a real sword that big, I kind of don't buy it. But the fact it's like a magical spectral sword for some reason.
Oh yeah.
Bigger, I'm like, oh yeah, well of course.
Makes sense, right? She's popular in Marvel Snap.
Oh, is that the other game you're thinking of, Odell?
I think, yeah. Because there's like 3 or 4 mobile apps now too, and I think it was Marvel Snap. She has a lot of covers in there.
Can we vote for the next Met My Ex? Ooh. I'll leave that up to the panel.
That's a lot of pressure.
That is because I don't.
Gambit?
Niche knowledge.
You guys could do Gambit and
I think if we came up with like a handful of options, if they like that we were comfortable with, and then they voted on that would be. That would be
I
cool.
am comfortable with everything, including Amanda Sefton and Gossamer. I will map the crap out of both of those.
Why don't we map a hypothetical Sefton omnibus?
to the 3 viewers who care about an Amanda Sefton omnibus.
Like, is there enough?
Every appearance in X-Men, Excalibur, and X-Men Black Sun. When was the last time she's been in an X-Men comic? It's been a long
feel
time.
like she turned up at some point in Krakoa, but
Yeah, she did.
My imagination.
It's been a long time. The Magneto one better have Red Skull being put in that hole. People love that story. See, I feel like she has enough for 2.
Storm has.
Oh my gosh, but where do
more
you
than
even
enough for
begin
2.
with Storm? Like, there's so much.
Red Max Retro series.
I feel like that gets a little difficult because the vast majority of it is her and team books.
It would be like mapping Cyclops. It's like, at what point do you distinguish?
Met my ex. Like breakup stories. That's a good one. Met my Psylocke. James, what are you doing?
Psylocke would be fun because we could like really try to explain. Could we explain everything in one book?
And where would you start? Would you start with Captain Britain, or would you start where?
Got to start with her getting the eyes, the bionic eyes.
So annual 2.
No, that's in Captain Britain when she fights Slaymaster.
Do we
No,
make
but shouldn't we
one in
get the-
volume 2, or are we going all the like? Are we doing a Betsy volume and a like?
Oh my God, I'd map the crap out of Surge Omnibus too, even though it'd be nothing but new X-Men.
I love Surge though.
I love Surge.
Juggernaut would be fun. Yeah, we can throw us some suggestions. What are you guys comfortable with? Like, Riley, what are you comfortable with? Who's a character that you're like, man, I could do this in my sleep? Like, I feel like Magik we were all comfortable with because
I feel like Gambit might be a decent choice, but it would definitely have to be multiple books.
he's had.
Look at Riley's getting that in there now. He's trying to
He's
set the
like, I'm not
expectation.
doing this in one book.
No, that one you really can't because it has so many like longer ongoing titles or like 12-issue titles, etc., etc. You have to do multiple books for Gambit.
Yeah, I've mapped it, and I'm teasing you, but I agree. I think there's one book that goes right up to 2000-ish, and then there's another like modern Gambit book that's 2000 and after.
Oddfell, what about you? Who's the character you're most comfortable with?
We've mapped most of them at this point. Like, I'm most comfortable in like X Factor, New Mutants, Excalibur, and then like Scarlet Witch and Magik. So at this point,
Well, now we have mapped a lot.
Like,
Yeah, you say that, but then I think about like how you kicked our asses on the Wolverine one by finding all that obscure stuff that like we had missed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you always show up and are really great, no matter if you claim you know the character or not.
I'm glad I did so much research for the Wolverine one because I don't read a lot of him. So I think that's how I found the obscure ones because I was just like, well, I don't know, so let's find it. So I'm more than like open to trying. I just might not be the most knowledgeable.
I think one
looking for the weird stuff.
One that could be fun would be Beast because he like leaves the X-Men for such a long time that there's like a lot to like pull from during that era. A lot of stuff that I haven't touched before.
Yeah, like, do you consider, like, would you, yeah, because he has that whole, like, Abigail Brand side story, and
all the time he's with the Avengers, and he has, like, a Wonder Man 2-issue miniseries. Like, there's a lot of Beast. All right, Omar, once the poll is over, I have a final collected...
the thing. And the winner is... not by landslide, but it is Chris Bachalo. Bachalo. So that is the standard edition cover.
Ooh, don't reload quite yet. I found one mistake. Give me 30 seconds.
George, Bishop, Iceman, Beast. Can we map whatever omnibus would have the Muties mini?
Yeah, right? Can we finally get something that has that?
An X Factor volume 2. Do you remember that 4-issue miniseries?
That little miniseries. I thought I was hallucinating it because it was so hard to find singles when I was putting my map together that I was like, is it real?
It's been collected in trade. It's impossible to find.
There's an ISBN for it. Have you actually seen it?
I've never seen it. But
I think it got solicited and canceled.
I bet James can find it.
I looked for a long time. I will put a bounty. I will give a $20 IST gift certificate to somebody who, or any book site, Walt's Comic Shop, any book site. I will give you a $20 gift certificate if you can find physical proof, not just an ISBN or a listing, that X Factor Volume 2 paperback exists.
How about a Sabretooth mapping? Map Mr.
I would
Sinister.
love to map Sabretooth. That's a really good map.
Fun.
Sinister mapping would be insane.
It would be a fun book. I have all these, so I'm like, okay, sure.
Oh, and that to me is one that I think I would do in a chronological order, not publishing order. Like
I think starting with his Victorian stuff would be fun.
Yeah, that would be great. I like that. Hey, maybe we can do that.
I think it's been mentioned, but I would also be down with Magneto.
I think Magneto has such a good story if you lay it all out. It's really fun.
That definitely is a multiple omnibus one, though. I mean, you can even do a Magneto omnibus by itself.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I'm so nervous that I missed something, but I really think I got everything, and you can reload.
All right, reloading and getting into the map. Our magic is that which one am I showcasing?
It's
here?
The one that has the covers and the spine. It says spine on it.
Oh, I don't see one. Let me double check. Let me reload it one more time. First
Slide
draft.
6.
Oh, there it is. Okay. There is our omnibus. Ta-da! And that is what's collected in there, and the material from here. We've got about a 1,450 page omnibus, retailing for $100 because we live in a magical realm where paper doesn't cost that much anymore, and neither does shipping from overseas. Oh yes,
man. Reload one more time. I fixed a couple of little broken things. God darn
you
it.
are such a perfectionist. Hey, keep that mapping for our poll whenever we start doing that in about a month.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Our final Magic Omnibus. Get any witty names for this? What would you guys call it?
Book of Magic.
Book of Magic.
Oh yeah, you gotta, right?
I like that.
You have to.
I like that. I'd buy it, but then again, I'm biased for any New Mutants related. We got you. By the way, I really mean Map My Black Widow Volume 2. Did we do a Volume 1? Oh, no, there has been a Volume 1. Yeah. Volume 2 would be pretty fun to map. That's an easy one, too. Good job, everyone. This might have been the most... I wasn't drinking. That was the problem. And I let these guys fly with the ridiculous New Mutants by Zeb Wells. Do you want me to put it up in the chat? You guys comfortable with these right here? Gambit, Magneto, Beast, Storm, and Sinister?
Yeah.
I can let the chat... Or I can just put it on. I can put it on a community tab on YouTube and let them vote for it and let you all know.
I'm so afraid of putting our fate in the hands of
other people. I do it every day.
The only one I'm scared of is if Storm wins because that's gonna be messy. So I say maybe not Storm. X-Men leaders are kind of complex to give their own book.
Okay, I mean, I'm
think of somebody that has the smaller than Storm and Beast, but about the same size as Gambit.
Rogue
could do a Rogue. People in the chat are saying Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler can be fun.
Nightcrawler's in so much of Excalibur, though.
You can't have every one of those.
We have to do the same thing as Magic, where you go like, is this his plot?
Oh, I'd map the crap out of Emma Frost.
Same.
Okay, I think Emma, Gambit, Magneto, Emma, Sinister. I'm very comfortable with that.
I'll put it in the community chat a little bit later, and then you all can vote for what we map next, and then we can decide on when we do this again. But this is our final mapping, and then we'll decide ahead of time if it's going to be 1 or 2 volumes. I just want to thank my wonderful panelists for being here today. And where can people find you all? Riley, kick it off. Where can people find you, my dude?
Pretty much everywhere until platforms don't exist, like TikTok. As the Omnibus Collector, my YouTube stuff is pretty much all manga related right now, but usually short form content and stuff on like Twitter. I do talk about Western comics.
On Phil, where can you be found?
Pretty much use this username on all platforms. Twitter, it's a 0 instead of an O. But I'm on Instagram, TikTok for as long as it lasts, Facebook, all of those. I also do have a Blue Sky under Oddfellow as well. And on YouTube, I do toy and statue unboxings and maybe soon video game lore videos. So definitely check that out. But yeah, pretty much on everything.
So you need to start doing some Marvel Rivals streaming is what you need to do.
I do. I am streaming the end. Well, I'm like in Act 2 of Veilguard, but I think afterwards I might start streaming Rivals.
Well, what was the game? Veilguard?
Yeah, the 4th Dragon Age game. I'm doing a playthrough where they choose all my choices, and they are killing me.
Bird.
So
no, that's great. That's awesome.
They're making all my character choices, and they're picking all the controversial ones.
The controversial choices are the best choices. Peter, what about you, my friend? Where can people find you?
Well, my main home on the internet, as everyone should know by now, but I'm happy to say it again, is crushingcrisis.com, where I have maps to so much of the Marvel Universe, including later this week for patrons, a map of magic. So you can jump on there and find how to read all of your favorite characters and titles, DC and Image and Indie Comics too. I cover new releases from the perspective of where can I pick up this book and will I enjoy it? So that's on the main page. And then I am back again on YouTube at the channel, which is now renamed, easily to find, also Crushing Crisis. For the past couple weeks, I've been reviewing every new issue out from every publisher every week. I don't know how long I can keep that up, but come by the madness next Sunday afternoon, U.S. Eastern Time, and find out. And if you want to talk to me on socials, I am Crushing Comics on socials, since I'm all comics focused and not as much of a crisis, and that is the same on both Twitter and Blue Sky.
And I am the Uncanny Omar, and we are out of here. Thank you again to my wonderful panel. And everybody, we'll let you all vote. Make sure you're checking the community tab and have a
Our
wonderful
fate is in your hands.
It always is. Bye, everybody. We're out of here.